Three more men joining in on the break. They've been trying to bridge the gap for a while. They finally got there. Ivan Basso is there. Changes the composition ever so slightly. He's now 22 minutes and 28, the best placed in that group. Alongside him, Matteo Rabottini of Neri Sottoli and Alberto Losada of Katusha. Rabottini at 24 minutes and 14. So Pelizzotti now the third best place. This is the front of the race with Tom de Gendt leading the descent here with Ivan Basso. Pelizzotti just behind and Sella there as well. So a few teams with two riders in there. Sky and Androni Giocattoli. Two of the teams who are looking for a win, really. Of course, Androni have got themselves in lots and lots of breaks, but they've not really managed to get the success they usually enjoy. They'll look behind, wait for everybody. Trying to press on, Sean, here, but they all want to stay together, obviously.
Yes, I think that is the reason they're looking behind there, and they can see the other ones are not coming across very quickly, but they want to get organised here and get everybody working, because still about 101 kilometres to go, and the terrain they have to go over, it's quite lumpy terrain. Not only when they get down off of the Passos San Pellegrino, there's a lot of up and down in between until we go to the next climb of the day, the second category climb, and then onto the first category of the finish. So they would need to get organised here.
Well, apologies if any of you are offended by that image. What we did see a minute ago, much more interesting image, was Patrick Gretsch just trying to pull things off a little quicker on the descent there. As you descend, not represented in the break. Will we start slowing things up? 100 kilometres to go then. We've been over the Passo San Pellegrino, but what awaits us today? We've talked about finishing in the Rifugio Panarotta. This is where we are. It is raining at the finish at the moment. No surprise there on this Giro d'Italia. As we said before, it's that sort of week. 8 degrees at the finish line. Started off today in Belluno, been up the Passo San Pellegrino, which has been a Giro staple down the years. Now a very, very long descent. Quick at the beginning, but then it gets a little lighter, slight false flats, and a very, very short bit uphill to the intermediate sprint at Cavallese. Then downhill again before the Passo del Redebus. And the Passo del Redebus up a second category climb. 4.6 kilometres long on its final section. Actually comes in two parts, starting down at Sover. First part to Brussago. And then 8.6%. with a maximum of 15%. Long descent again after that. And then we have the Rifugio Panarotta Valsugana. This is the final kilometre, Sean. It does ease up a little towards the end, but it's a fairly regular gradient.
Yes, well, it is a pretty regular gradient, but again, it's always about the way they go on the climb. And we can see at the moment, the advantage for the breakaway, it's not anything to shout about at the moment. They have to pull that out much more, because with the difficult finish, and not only that, to get to that final climb of the day. And if they race really aggressive, and if they do come together and it's back all together in the peloton, well, then we will have a real big fight on, because there'll be so many different general classification men, guys going for stages, that will make it more aggressive again. And but if the breakaway gets away, it might be a little bit calm. Of course, with the time trial tomorrow, the general classification men might be thinking of that and keep that powder dry for the very important time trialing coming up tomorrow.
Hailstone. Not what we wanted. Well, we've been managing to collect some opinions after what's happened the last few days. Again, we'll try and round up a little all of those today. We've been chatting to different directors sportifs, trying to get their opinion on Nairo Quintana's lead, and of course, was it valid? Was it decent organisation from the organisers? Thankfully, though, most have managed to move on. And this is about today's stage. Team Europe car.
Rifugio Panarotta. Est-ce que vous pouvez nous présenter cette étape?
Well, Dominic,
Oui, bien sûr. Donc,
Belluno, what about the stage today?
On est dans la dernière ligne
Well, it's a very
droite,
difficult stage.
avec un
First climb
premier
is
col,
20 kilometers long.
le San Pellegrino, un peu plus de 20
Of course, a long way for the finish, but a break surely will go there. Then we've got a second category and a final climb up to Rifugio Panarotta. Very, very steep climb, 16 kilometers. I think the leaders will fight for the pink up there. And of course, the leaders can't really move before the last climb. 15 flat kilometers before the final climb starts. I think it'd be quite risky to attack before. Before the San Pellegrino, we'll try and hold and get to the front for as long as we can. I think one of the breakaway riders can win the stage. But with the leaders, I think everybody needs to wait until that final climb. These are the leaders. Nairo Quintana, 1 minute and 41 ahead of Rigoberto Urán. Cadel Evans is in third place, but we said slipping, sliding. Pierre Rolland, of course, we heard from Dominique Arnault there, hoping to put Pierre Rolland to the podium, just 5 seconds behind Cadel Evans. I think if you're Cadel Evans, you really need to find some sort of form. Let's run you through all the classifications with Rafael Majka in second place, 3 minutes 28 behind Nairo Quintana and the young rider standing. I think it's a fairly safe bet that unless a disaster strikes, Quintana is going to take the white jersey. Fabio Aru well placed as well. It's a fight for second place there. Just a matter of seconds in it between them. And let's not forget about Wilco Kelderman. Has been improving, has been riding really, really well in this Giro. Sebastian Henao, another 40-odd minutes down. Pink jersey goes for some lunch. Just accompanied to the front by his friends. Nasser Bouhanni still in the lead of the points competition. This one, I think, is one that will certainly go down towards that final day in Trieste. Giacomo Nizzolo trying to hang on, as is Elia Viviani. Roberto Ferrari still in the race, as is Ben Swift, but be too much to make up for Swifty. It's between the top two in that competition. It is, though, going to be a very, very big day in the blue jersey competition today. And Julian Arredondo's already made his move. He's taken 32 points at the top of the Passo San Pellegrino. He now leads quite comfortably on 127 points. Team by time. Asher Dessert bossing Omega Pharma Quickstep. Lead down to 21 minutes and 42 seconds. Omega Pharma Quickstep getting 2 men in the break yesterday. And finally, standing by super team points, not generally classification that a lot of people tend to pay too much of interest to, but Omega Pharma Quickstep now leading Lampre Merida by a handful of points. Keep it Eurosport, the home of cycling. 158 riders started today. A couple not starting, perhaps they thought they had to do that. Ski jumping in Brendazzo. Ivan Santaromita ill this morning, unfortunately. Quite unfortunate as well. There was actually a big article in the national sports paper today in Italy saying, Santaromita, well, I'd only ever abandon a race if I died. You'd have to die to get me off my bike, but then illness strikes and the poor soul, the Italian champion, has to abandon the race. So get well soon, Ivan. And Diego Lisi as well. 2 stages, 1 for him. Very, very good Giro d'Italia. Second place in the time trial as well. He's victim of a fever, and I think he can be very, very pleased with his Giro, Sean.
Yes, well, certainly we'll be pleased with the Giro, but disappointing, to go out at this stage, into the middle of the final week. It's always disappointing, and when you do real well, like Diego Lisi, it's nice to get to the finish because it's, a double stage winner. It's a great feeling to get to the finish after doing that, after having such a great race, and when you're both sick. But I'm surprised in this race. As I mentioned the very early part, I thought we would lose more riders with cold, with flus because of the conditions we're having, and it hasn't been the case. We have lost many. Most is because of pressures, in which we had a big share of them in the earlier part because of the weather conditions.
Orica Green Edge down to 2 riders now. Michael Hetman, Grand Tour debutant, doing his best to hang on, and Svein Tuft flying the flag off first Maglia Rosa. He'll especially want to get to the end of this Giro d'Italia. Another man getting to the end and put himself in contention for the podium is Ryder Hagestad. Here he is.
Ryder, after a very unlucky start in Northern Ireland, you're back in contention for the podium places, and you know how to manage a third week. You proved it here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just happy to be where I'm at right now, and yeah, I don't look to the past too much. So I'm just looking forward to these next hard days, and you know, and when it's over, it's over. So I'll give it everything.
Today, it's a mountain finish. Is it possible to anticipate the last climb, as you managed to do it a few times in this Giro?
You have to see how the race unfolds. Every day is different. Everyone has a different idea, but I'm not scared to start the last climb with everybody and see how it goes. I definitely feel good, and I'd almost look to that today as a way to also gain time.
Thank you very much.
Gaining time, the objective for Ryder Hejdahl. We mentioned his ride yesterday. He's 9th at the minute, Sean. 4 minutes and 16 back, but of course when you look to the podium places, it's a question of around a minute or less, really. 3rd and 9th, not too much difference. Average race speed today, 39.748 kilometers per hour after 2 hours, 90 k's to go. But going back to Hejdahl, is a podium place realistic for the Garmin man?
Well, I think the way he's going and the way he has got back into this race, got into the the top 10 in general classification at 4:16. When you look at the places further up, he's a long ways off, I suppose, for a podium place. But you never know if he can continue on like he was riding 2 days ago on that controversial stage. He could move up again, and he wasn't given too much information there exactly what he was going to do, what tactics were, and that's normal from the riders. But I think he's in a real good place to move up, certainly into the top 5, and that is a great performance to finish top 5 in a big 3-week tour.
That's one way of eating your dinner. Don't think his mum will be pleased. Manners on show from Fran Mendoza. Seriously though, he's been fantastic. Recovered from some very, very nasty scrapes in this Giro d'Italia to lead Nairo Quintana, lead the team around. He's still in pink today, Quintana. He was a little disappointed yesterday. The man who, we must remind you, is making his Giro debut, looking to win it the first attempt. Apparently yesterday, before the start, this man tried to shake the hand of Rigoberto Urán and Fabio Aru and a few others, and they allegedly didn't shake his hand back before yesterday. He then had to say, well, they don't scare me. I'll race like a leader to win the Giro. Mind game, Sean? Or there's still a real grievance there, do you think?
Well, I think there's a grievance there between number of riders, number of teams, and in Quintana's situation, I would not be that comfortable with his capability of riding the climbs, and that I don't think he have a problem there. But if there's a moment where there is a problem, mechanical problem at a late stage, somebody making a descent or something like that, there's a lot of teams maybe will not ride with him. And it's not only from 2 days ago when we had that uncertainty in the stage, what were they going to do on the descent. We also had it with Pozzovivo, where he was climbing with Pozzovivo, and he did not ride with him and then rode away from the finish. And I actually mentioned that if you're riding with a guy and maybe if you're a little bit under difficulty, well, you stay in his wheel, and you stay in his wheel to the finish. You don't take 5 seconds or 7 seconds from him in the final couple of 100 metres, and that's what Quintana did on that occasion after Pozzovivo setting up the race with AG2 All Mondial, and then Pozzovivo taking it up and riding a number of kilometres on that climb, and he wasn't happy. So there's a number of little problems there, and that's where I would be concerned for Quintana and Movistar. If there's a situation, there'll be a lot of teams, well, you can do it now, it's up to you, and they'll certainly maybe find themselves having to do it all on their own, where in a normal situation in a race, sometimes there are teams there and they might ride a bit with you because, well, you have been the best team, you have the best rider in the race. But with the situation we've had here, I'd be always real careful tactically of those possibilities arising.
We'll see how it happens with Nairo Quintana. In the meantime, this is Gianni Savio watch. Emanuele Sella going back to the car. Over him today as he takes his little can of Coke. They've got two of their strongest riders out there in the break today, Antonio Giocattoli. Sella, former king of the mountains, remember, at the Giro d'Italia. Franco Pellizotti, former Italian champion. They're all working together and they're putting some time into those behind now. 6 minutes and 31. Looking a lot better, but again, Sean, they have to keep working at this advantage for quite a while yet.
Yes, and I think the reason was the advantage didn't grow out maybe a bit more earlier on. We had a group coming across with Basso, and they realised out front that if they continue on riding well, they were going to continue chasing, and if they didn't allow that group in, maybe there might be somebody in the peloton like Cannondale, for example, who would take it up and start riding. So just to be sure, they allowed them 3 riders to get up there and form a bigger group, and now they're starting to ease their way out in front and build on their advantage.
What's going to happen today? What's going to happen over the next few days? We'd love to hear from you. Get involved. Join the conversation on Twitter. Hashtag Eurosport Cycling for all of your cycling tweets, please, on the home of cycling, at Rob Hatch TV, for some questions directly to Sean in the commentary box. Quick break for us. We'll be back in a minute. 86 kilometres to go. On our way to Rifugio Panarotta today. Everything that happened on the Stelvio, though, is still being whispered, being talked about, creating a lot of headlines and column inches. This morning was all about the accused. The meeting we had yesterday as well, promised statement that actually asked for seconds to be deducted from our leader Nairo Quintana. Basically, all the teams that missed out and were confused by this alleged neutralisation on the descent the other day. Actually asking for the gap that Quintana, Cataldo, Roland and the rest had at the bottom to be taken away. Apparently, and again, according to the Italian press and the Gazzetta dello Sport in particular, Eusebio Unsue, who's in charge of Movistar team, actually said that he wouldn't be against taking a few seconds off of Quintana. That's not been done. The UCI have said it's not going to happen. The organisers have said it's not going to happen. What's your take on it, Sean?
Well, I think it's the damage is done, and it's going to be a real war if you start taking the time off. Okay, if Movistar say we would agree to that, but I think if it's done, there'll be other teams saying, well, we're not agreeing with that. Europcar, for example, Garmin Sharp Rider has Hojdal's team, so you're going to get into a lot of discussion there. So I think damage done. Try and get over it and get on with the race now, and that's the situation.
We move on now, we hope so, and of course we want to see some great racing again today. I'm sure this man does as well, because he will want to dispel the doubts and prove to everybody that he is the strongest by a long, long way at this Giro d'Italia. Before we started today, though, we managed to catch up with the man who used to be in charge of the race. So it's time to get some time back today, Rigoberto. You've got to get some time back, yep.
No, estamos pensando que dan 3 etapas complicadas, digamos que hay
I think they're going to be 3 very complicated stages. Tomorrow the time trial is going to be very hard as well. So we have to wait and bide our time. How much time can you gain on Quintana in the time trial? Well, it's not a flat time trial, I think I'm going to have to struggle as well alongside Nairo, and I'm not sure if I can gain anything, a minute or whatever. I don't think we can put numbers on it. Have you forgot what happened 2 days ago was the last question? Yes, I've already forgot it, but that was a big straight answer from Rigoberto Urán. In the meantime, it's intermediate sprint time here. Tim Wellens is going out to try and take some more points. He's been an extremely combative and aggressive rider in this Giro d'Italia. Going out alongside with him was Emanuele Sella as well. Wellens is going to take the points for Lotto. And they're doing their best in their own little way to animate the race. They have done since the very early stages, we have to say that. Haven't been up there to win stages, Lotto, but they've been working hard, riding hard, going for all the little prizes. And as Sean mentioned yesterday, the little pots of money as well that are about. At least they're paying the fuel bill around Italy.
Yes, and of course, it's not too difficult to take it if you've got a bit of a sprint on you in the group there, and some of the riders not really interested in it at all. So there's very few riders really going to go for and give it 100%, and we can see Wellens is the one, and he's the one also who is trying to push for the mountain classification, but unfortunately he has Arredondo with him, and that's going to be a difficult task, because if he does beat him on some of the climbs later in the day, Arredondo is going to be pretty close to him. So he's starting from a long way down, and he's there, but I think a bit too far off to have any impact on this mountain classification.
Cavallese, cultural centre of the Val di Fiemme. Again, another very beautiful region of Italy, not one of the most talked about up here, certainly in summer. We always hear about Tuscany and Campania, of course Sicily as well, down on the islands. We were in Puglia last week, Venice, but just to the north here, beautiful mountain ranges. And again, it's not just for skiing. You want to come out here on your bikes, there are plenty of routes to ride. In fact, we've advertised quite a few for you this week. Hopefully the weather will be better when you decide to go up there, but it's absolutely lovely. I know you haven't ridden the Giro much, Sean, of course, just the once. And have you ever done, apart from the Tour of Lombardy, have you ever done much riding in the Dolomites?
No, I've never rode the Dolomites, actually.
You're scared away from them, weren't you?
Well, it's something that's been on my agenda for a number of times in the past couple of years. I would like to go ride Gavia and some of those climbs, but unfortunately, just to get the time and to get the fitness as well, because you have to go there with some sort of a basic fitness, and that is the problem. You know, sometimes I get a bit of form, but then I'm off the bike for 5 or 6 weeks, and of course you lose it so quickly. As biking, you know, it's just unfair. You get a bit of form, then no biking for 5 weeks, and you're just back to square one again. You have to train to get back up to that level, but I'm hoping to get to it, and it's something certainly high on my priority list.
The sort of places that you probably wouldn't enjoy if you didn't go with a decent base fitness, would you?
Well, that is the problem. You know, the climbs are so percentage steep wise, they go on for so long. You have to have, you know, a good base of fitness. That way you can enjoy it. And when you go out on, you know, these cycles, if you go there for 3 or 4 days doing some biking, if you do 100 kilometers a day, you have to have that fitness. Otherwise, you're struggling so much, and it's like being back racing all again. You're just looking at the backside of the person in front of you.
It wouldn't be me either. I'd be very much hanging on in that group, I think. Yeah, they're hard climbs, they're long climbs, but I think, as you can see, the views and the areas extremely rewarding.
And the food is very rewarding.
It certainly is, and very different up here as well. You get polenta being made at the top of Monte Zoncolan, that we'll see that on Saturday. Local delicacies, mountain pies, meat pies. Of course, you have the Austrian and Germanic influence as well up here. Very, very different region of Italy. The gap's at 7 minutes and 20 seconds right now. 79.1 kilometres to go. If you're tuning in a little late, we have a break of 14 out in front. Pelizzotti, Sella, Zardini, Kaiser, Wellens, Duarte, Basso, Rabottini, De Gent, Arredondo, Rovni, Daignan, Cataldo and Alberto Losada of Team Katusha. And it's all rolling along pretty nicely behind. Nasser Bouhanni back in the main bunch after he was dropped on the first climb. He was in difficulties quite early on, and I guess when we get to the final 2 climbs, it's going to be hard work for him. But long descent here from Passo San Pellegrino, not too technical a descent either, has allowed him to get back on and rest up in the bunch. That's what they're affronting next, the Passo del Rebus. 90 odd kilometres into the stage, 78.6 to go. Ivan Basso, motivated today for a stage win, and again, we're talking about getting things from the Giro. It's, you know, what we calculate towards the end of every race, certainly big race like this, and we're talking about an Italian team as well, Cannondale. Basso out of the picture for the overall win. Starting off from Belluno today, I'm sure he'll be wanting to get himself in the break. One of the final men to join in fact. Kaiser and Duarte had gone, and then Basso were across with him. A couple of friends as well, Rabottini and Losada. On through Cavallese. And there's the team of Fabio Aru. Astana, minus Brajkovic and Scarponi. Behind her, the white jersey, Rafał Majka of Poland, now 5th, 3 minutes and 28 down, but no longer the custodian of the white jersey. He's just wearing it for Nairo Quintana. As it stands, Quintana set to walk off with pink and white at the end of this Giro. 3 very, very hard days to go. In fact, it's actually amazing that Quintana is here at all. I was reading yesterday that Quintana, after doing Tirreno Adriatico in March, saw the chaos of Italian racing, saw what the courses were like, saw what the roads were like, saw the organisation. And he called Eusebio Ansua, the manager of the team, and said, I don't want to go to the Giro. I really don't want to go. It is not for me. Please get somebody else to do it. He's been persuaded to have it as his objective. I think he was probably told in no uncertain terms that he wouldn't be doing the Tour otherwise. He may still not be doing the Tour. Certainly probably won't be doing it as a leader anyway. He was told to come to the Giro, and I think at the minute, with how it's worked out, despite all the arguments, he'll be pretty happy he's here.
Yes, well, when you go to Tirreno Adriatico, it's the beginning of season, and the Italians, are really up for it, because Milan-San was just around the corner, and they are totally crazy in that one, because it's such aggressive racing, and it's not a nice race to go to if you're not a big guy where you can hold your place up in the front of the peloton. We can see Quintana, his size, he's going to get pushed around a lot, and you have to fight much more just to stay there. And then you get to the two. You think about the Tour of Italy, and the Tour of Italy is bad because it's so important. And Quintana has done a great job, to hold upright and to stay out of the crashes most of the time. Although he was down on one occasion, and he's got this far. It's
well, we start controlling things today. Won't be too disappointed with what's gone up front. Rather like yesterday, it was almost a relaxed sort of day for them yesterday. There's a lot of laughing and joking in the peloton, a lot of chatting to each other. Fran Ventoso wasn't really in charge of putting on a big pace, just controlling things. None of those red flags that's caused so much debate, this time for their traditional use. Nice to see all of their fellow professionals looking after each other as well, pointing out the obstacles that are along the road, just like you do in your own groups when you ride on the road. 74.1 kilometres to go today until Rifugio Panarotta. Yesterday, though, was a great day for Bardiani, the first Italian team in 11 years to have 3 different stage winners. Stefano Pinazzi finally did it when he won the 17th stage of the Giro d'Italia. Previous team to have 3 different riders winning a Giro stage was Fassa Bortolo in 2003, Dario Frigo, Aitor Gonzalez and Alessandro Petacchi then winning the stages on that day, as we see Ben Swift here, the man who's had a good Giro, a good climbing performance on that epic stage the other day, 25th, finishing up there with Ivan Basso. It was a great day for great day for Swift, poor day for Basso, you would say, but certainly has been climbing fantastically this year. But going back to Bardiani yesterday, what a Giro they're having before we get on to Stefano Pinazzi himself.
Yes, well, it's just a fabulous Giro for them, and it's a Giro they will remember for a long time. And getting into the race as a wild card entry and winning 3 stages, it's just an unbelievable story. And Pinazzi, of course, yesterday, we've talked about him a lot, I've mentioned him a lot, and he's a rider that goes in the attack. Sometimes he doesn't really think about, and make the calculation, but he makes great racing, and he livens up the races he has in the Giro during a lot of times. I think last year he was probably in better form because he was in breakaways much more. This year he hasn't been in as many breakaways, but he's got in the one, got his stage victory, and he's had a great race, a stage victory here for him, and to break that mould as well, to win a big one. And he's pro 5 years, and I thought he was older as well, because we talk about him so much and we see him so much, but he is a real battler. And yesterday he was in good shape as well. The way he got across to Thomas de Gent when he was on that climb, he closed down that 15 or 18 seconds, whatever it was, very quickly. And when he went in the attack in the end, it was a serious one, because they did react immediately to try and close him down, but he had immediately 4 or 5 bike lengths, moment hesitation, and he was gone.
He certainly was gone, and he produced an interesting celebration at the end, giving the old umbrella sign, which is a particularly offensive gesture in Italy. He was actually fined 200 Swiss francs for doing that in public yesterday. Equivalent in English of putting a couple of fingers up to the crowd. Not very polite. In the meantime, here's Kelderman, by the way.
In Valmartello, you proved you're one of the best climbers of the Giro. Today, it's an opportunity for you to gain time on your rivals for the podium.
Yes, of course, but it's a hard stage, but we'll see how the legs are. I hope to get a good classification, but everything is possible. We'll see.
What do you know of this final climb of Rifugio Panarotta?
Nothing. I don't know the climb.
It's a very irregular one, but you could notice that among the guys in the Giro, you're quite one of the best climbers in this third week.
Yeah, of course. On the day of the Stelvio was really good. So I hope to do today also.
So what is your target? A stage win would be amazing, or you reach the podium?
Podium is maybe too high, but you never know. Maybe I can go some closer to the podium. I hope so, yeah.
Are you confident for tomorrow's time trial?
Yeah, I hope so, yeah. I didn't know the climb, but yeah, the legs are good, so good luck. Okay, thank you.
Not exactly assertive in his answers there, Wilco, but he's proving that he's letting the bike do the talking so far. It's been absolutely fantastic, as we saw with Stefano Pirazzi yesterday. If you don't try, you don't know, and that podium might not well be out of reach. There's not many seconds in there, and he's looking pretty good so far. Again, a man you really wouldn't bet against taking a stage before the end of this Giro.
Yes, certainly not, and not forecasting too much. Young guy, of course, and as we've just heard in the interview, he doesn't know the climb at all, and it's a long time since we have been here, so unless you have been here training and made the climb, well, none of the riders will know it, unless they have, you know, trained over it. And Kelderman, when you're a new rider coming up and in the position he's in, you're always a little bit scared, you know, to announce too much, because if you say, well, I'm going to move up in general classification, and then it doesn't happen, our reporter will be back tomorrow and say, well, what happened, where did it go wrong? And of course all the press as well, the written press. So he is being conservative there, but he is having a great Giro, and if he continues on as he is, it will be, you know, a guy for the future.
So he's avoiding our friend Christian Chambre, who's doing the reporting, by the way, down there. Christian will be chasing after him tomorrow, whatever happens. As Sean said, it's been a while since we've been here up to Rifugio Panarotta. 1966, in fact. The winner on that occasion, Gianni Motta. The winner 8 years before that was Miguel Poblet of Spain, the Catalan rider, and Charlie Gaulle in 1957, the Luxembourg rider, winning as well. So whoever wins today is going to be an esteemed company, aren't they?
Well, Basso has to win at this group today to keep the record of, you know, big names. And yes, the Italians, of course, they have won 6 stages this year. They won down on last year. They won 7 last year. I was counting there a bit earlier on. So yeah, will we have an Italian victory today to match the number of stage victories for them for last year?
Well, they were panicking at the start of the Giro, the Italians. What are we going to do? Where are our riders going to come from? No Nibali here. Of course, Basso on the way down in his career. But, of course, he is aiming for a stage win today. Sella's in there as well, as is Pelizzotti, who is from the northeast of Italy, remember? Ivan Basso himself from the other side of Lombardy, from Varese. Emanuele Sella, 4 stage wins at the Giro. 70 kilometres to go. The sun is out on the Giro d'Italia. Back in a minute. Stay tuned on the Giro. 2.5 hours into the stage on the Giro d'Italia. Musettes are out. It's almost lunchtime. 6 minutes and 15 seconds is the gap. Beautiful sunshine, beautiful scenery. It's a pretty stunning area of Italy. I've said it all along, continue to say it, but wherever we go in this country, the place is a living, breathing monument, not just to history, but also natural beauty. Average race speed at 40.3 kilometres per hour. On our way to the second of 3 climbs today, second category climb before our final climb. Just over 16 kilometres, steady gradient, steep steady one, not too many changes though. As you can see, the bunch is fairly relaxed at the moment. The gap has come down somewhat to 6:25, but there's no real need to reel all these guys in. Certainly now that we had 3 more teams getting involved who might have wanted to chase things down. Still 1 or 2 teams who have missed out, but most of them are looking towards the overall. As I said, the full time that will have been to Rifugio Panarotta. So Some real mountain food up here. The rostis are all typical from this area. Beef pies with onion and potatoes and things like that. Very, very different. I'm not sure the riders will be having too much of that, Sean, though.
No, I don't think it'll be on the menu for the riders. It's a little bit maybe heavy for the riders. The normal menu they'll be having for the past 3 weeks almost, and then move over to something like that. I don't think the teams will be allowing it. And as we've seen in the past, you know, in the big tours, they all have their own chefs. So you know, the menu and the meals for the riders is looked after by their own chefs, and it's a very basic stuff as we've seen in the start of this race. Some of the days there, you know, the pastas are one which is, you know, very much on the menu, and then there's a variety of things: chicken, fish, you know, a bit of red meat, and plenty of vegetables, plenty of salads. So I don't think they'll be going for that gourmet food.
Much more practical stuff. Talking practicalities and everything, there'll be no calls for Mauro Vegni to call this one off at the minute. It is beautiful out there. He actually admitted in the race director this morning in the paper for the first time that he did actually think of abandoning and cancelling the stage whilst they were climbing the Stelvio the other day, saying that the priority and the safety of the riders, in the end, going for the option that confused everybody. A lot of regret there. A bit of regret for Stefano Pirazzi as well, who we were talking about before we had that interview thrown in with Wilco Kelderman. Pirazzi 27 now, and thanks to Tim Barthorpe for writing in on Twitter saying that 200 Swiss francs is lenient for that gesture for Stefano Pirazzi. Well, just to fill you in on the background there, Stefano Pirazzi has suffered absolute horrendous criticism over the last few years from Italian journalists, commentators. I think actually the Italian version of Eurosport was the destination of his little gesture, apparently. One particular commentator who has apparently laid into him, had a go at him, saying that his tactics are pretty silly. Certainly in this particular commentary box we loved them because it lights up the race and gets people watching, people off the edge of their seats, and at the end of the day, Sean, it's all about entertainment, isn't it?
Well, yes, it's great entertainment, and you know, a lot of the days that there's not a lot happening in the race, Pirazzi was the one who would go in the attack at a moment when you'd expect it least, and he just goes out there and, you know, just rides, and for that you have to hand it to him that, you know, there's never, you know, a thought about will it work out. He just goes. If he's got the legs, he does it.
Yes, Pierre Roland.
Quatrième position du général.
So
à
Pierre,
5 secondes de Cadel Evans. Le
just 5 seconds behind Cadel Evans.
Il n'y a plus qu'à aller le chercher là-haut.
It's going to be difficult to try and get the podium.
Il y a Cadel Evans à 5 secondes, mais derrière,
well, of course, Cadel Evans is at 5 seconds.
Voilà,
but there's also many other riders in my position who
coureurs qui se tiennent dans un mouchoir de poche une minute
are very, very close to me.
C'est vraiment pas grand-chose.
And also close to third place by a consequence of that.
Aujourd'hui,
I think the 3 next days are going to be vital. We're going to have to watch each other.
Il y a du boulot.
As-tu intérêt à essayer de gagner du temps aujourd'hui dans la mesure le contre-la-montre de demain?
Do you think you're going to try and get some time back today?
Évidemment, mais tu as des adversaires qui sont très doués aussi dans cet exercice.
Chaque jour suffit sa peine. On va penser d'abord à aujourd'hui avant de penser à demain.
Well, of course, every day is different. Tomorrow might not be the greatest day for me in the time trial, but we take every day as it comes.
Quels mouvements de course vont faire les leaders?
We have to ride today. We've all got to think about today before we can think about tomorrow.
Voilà, il y a plein de choses à faire.
Merci beaucoup, Pierre.
But I think Uran and Heystal will need to gain time tomorrow as well. I'm just thinking about today. Zardini, who's in great form in the Giro del Trentino. We saw him out earlier in the break in this Giro d'Italia. On the stage there. Bardiani going to take another one here, and they've managed to make the break again. It's just been a fairy tale story for them. 65.2 kilometres to go. Movistar after the feed zone, just letting things go back out to 7:21 again. And again, the final climb is so long today. Yes, we've got a really, really good group up front, but they still need a fairly decent advantage because once more behind, if there are people thinking that, well, I need to get a bit of time before the time trial tomorrow or I'm going to lose some, certainly those who are vying for that third podium spot, then there's going to be digs from behind, surely.
Yes, and we can see the advantage. It's not growing out amazingly quickly or amazingly big. I think Movistar are making the calculation as well that they're going to keep this one at at a point where it's not going to get anything like we had yesterday, and they probably maybe looking at the team classification, or they're not really into it, but if they allow the gap to grow too much, well then AG2 are going to get into panic and start pushing that button and start riding. So probably to keep calm on the situation. If they keep it at around the 10 or 12 minutes, well then everybody will be happy back in the bunch. And we did see yesterday Movistar were very much trying to calm everybody in the bunch. Ventoso, we see there, he was coming to the front a lot and trying to calm down everybody, and I think that's what they want to do. They want to just make the calculation here that the race situation, that they get to the final climb, and if they have to race there, okay, but they don't want to have to do it before, and in case there's bad weather conditions as well. I think they're a little bit concerned about that, and they showed it very much yesterday.
They certainly did. Ivan Rovny at the back. Well, just taking in turns to come back to the car. That is Zardini again. Heading towards the Passo Redebus. Say the food changes, the language changes up in this area of Italy. Okay, very, very close to the Austrian border, and believe it or not, there are small regions of Italy where German is spoken, and the Latin language as well, as we see a bit of the Russian language there from Oleg Tinkov. It's funny, he's been out riding every morning as Tinkov, ahead of the breakaway. He's been out on the course whilst the roads have been closed. And there's a great picture somewhere on the internet of him hanging onto the side of the Sky Team bus. No helmet on as well. He certainly isn't afraid to take a risk or two, is Mr. Tinkov, but he loves his riding, and often he's there at the training camps. We saw it in the Canary Islands back in January. In fact, our very own Matt Stevens was out with them as well, riding up there. And certainly can't fault his passion for the sport, can you?
No, well, it's somebody have a real passion, a real interest when you go out there and you ride the route or part of the route each day, and it's a good thing, because at least he knows what the riders have to go through, and you can get the feel for the difficulty of the climbs and that, and as we've said on many occasions, to get a real feeling of bike racing as you go up climbs, or if you ride on the cobblestones or whatever the case may be, whatever race it may be, if you can go out there and ride your bike, that is the best way to get the real feeling and to get to know what it's really like.
Well, we turned up yesterday for the Director Sportif meeting, and of course as the team owner he was there in his Lycra. There's Oleg Tinkov. Climb to the Passo Redebus. The first part of it anyway, the unclassified part of the climb, is about to begin. Then we've got the second category climb and the second classified climb of the day. Passo del Redebus. 7 minutes 52. This is the biggest advantage that the breakers had so far. Number 14 riders are there. Pelizzotti, Senna, Zardini, Kaiser, Wellens, Duarte, Basso, Rabottini, De Gent, Arredondo, Rovny, Dignan, Cataldo and Lasaldo, Losada Pormi, all out there in the break. It's a fantastic image during the break of Paolo Bettini and Fernando Alonso riding along in one of the cars in the convoy today. I reckon they're tapping up any riders as they go along, Sean. Come on, sign for us next year.
Well, it's looking like they are out on scout here and have a look at the riders, and yeah, it's nice to see him there, and hopefully that we will see this team getting off the ground. Last year we talked a lot about the Alonso team taking over from Escatel, but it fell flat in the end, and always disappointing to see a team go like Escatel, because they were in there for so many years, but it looks like they're having a look and possibly talking to riders. We haven't heard an awful lot on the team of recent, but again it could be just keeping it quiet, and not be surprised if they are having meetings with riders. That goes on all the time during the Tour of Italy, more so the Tour of France, well before the time the transfers are allowed by UCI regulations.
Well, the silly season's just starting. Rumours beginning. Brad Wiggins to Orica Green Edge is the latest one in the cycling press today. Of course, lot of these rumours started, not all believable. Take your pick, and here we go. It's exactly what we saw a moment ago. Bettini in the back seat, Alonso in the front. Bettini will be the man who's driving the team, though. Left his job as a national selector of Italy to take up the job with Alonso last year. They really missed out, though, by starting a year late on the man that Alonso certainly wanted in his heart of hearts as the flagship signing, which was Samuel Sanchez, because Alonso wanted it to be an Asturian team, just like him. Of course, Alonso is from Asturias, the region in the north of Spain. Samuel Sanchez as well, but Sanchez, since signing for BMC, of course, he couldn't afford to have a year off and not be paid. Let's see how it goes, which riders they do sign. There's been a lot of speculation about Pedro Sagan, but of course plenty of speculation about the fact that he might be alongside Ivan Basso going to Tinkoff Saxo. We shall see. As I said a minute ago, plenty of rumours around, and silly season really does begin now. If anybody's spatted chatting to anybody at the Tour de France, then that certainly becomes a rumour as well, but we won't know anything until the back end of the season. That's when rumours are either denied or confirmed. A lot of rumours this morning, even questions put directly to Nairo Quintana about a supposed coalition, an alliance against him in the mountains. Now, these sorts of things, Sean, are often rumoured, often talked up and talked about during races. But of course, this being such a unique incident, the one we saw this week, do you think that it's something that could be put into practice? Everybody against Nairo Quintana on the last few stages to try and have a go at him, take some time off him, put him under pressure. The one thing you have to say, as well as his own natural ability, is, we said it yesterday, I don't think there's any doubt that he's the most talented young climber in the world. The most talented climber in the world, full stop, Nairo Quintana. But he does have a full team of 9, a very strong team of 9 at that. And remember, the only other team with a full complement is Trek Factory Racing. So he's got a lot of the things going for him as Nairo Quintana here, not just his own talent.
No, it's looking good. Movistar, it's a very strong team, and they have a complete team also. So it's difficult to see it, and the only way is if they race, very aggressively in the early part of a stage. But we're starting to run out of that opportunity or that possibility, and we can see here, they are just controlling the race very well. And today they're doing a really good job. They're not allowing this breakaway to get too far out, as I said, because then those teams will start riding for reasons, maybe the team classification, and keep it at that 8 or 10 minutes advantage, and then everybody is happy back in the bunch. And it's also a big enough an advantage out to the breakaway that nobody is going to go out of the bunch to try and get across the breakaway, so that eliminates that first. So it's really the classification they're going to start thinking about, and the team classification is one which AG2R and Mondial are leading, and with Omega Pharma Quickstep with Thomas de Gent up here, out to 10 minutes is not a problem. They're going to take that a lot of that back anyway in the end, and if it goes out to 15 minutes, I don't think it's going to be a problem here. So they are making the calculation very well, but it's all about the strength of the team. I think they have got the strength and depth within Movistar.
Well, Nairo Quintana said in his post-race interview yesterday, I'm sure that they're all conspiring against me. I'm sure that they're thinking of doing and making up a coalition to have a go at me. But his director sportif yesterday said, behind that tranquil mask of a person that you can see hides behind the biggest, strongest predator that I've ever seen in a race. That's some strong words, and just shows you how ruthless the guy can be. We saw it the other day. You talked about the bad manners, perhaps, with the riding with Pozzo Vivo. The guy just doesn't care. He wants to win, full stop. Yes,
I think he's proved that very much in this race, where on occasions more than one, where he is being in a situation, and sometimes a rider, when you're in that, you start thinking, and then you start talking with the car and saying, well, should we really go on here? Should we wait up for the group of the pink jersey race leader? I don't think we didn't see anything like that. We heard nothing about it at all, of he getting a little bit concerned in that way. He just went and drove the race on, and on the final climb he took it up very early. There was no questions, no doubt in his mind what he wanted to do, and I think we've seen that in this race big time.
Well, we're just going through a part now as the first part of this climb to Rebedou starts. A few different riders coming back, having a chat. The cars are being allowed to come up one by one to the break here, Sean. What sort of things are being said?
Well, I think, how are you feeling? and they're making the calculation as well. You know, the 7:43 at the moment. They're going to be concerned. They need to get that out a bit more. So do you start going in the attack, and you have to see with your riders, you know, how they are, and you know, come and talk to them. It's easy to do it here. You can do it, you know, via radio normally, but it's so easy to just come along and talk to the riders here. And I think they're probably getting a little bit concerned because this advantage, they would like to pull it out a bit more in case that they do start opening it back in the peloton. If somebody and some teams take it on, well, then this advantage could come down very quickly. So they would prefer to have it out a bit more. But for the moment, they're just you know, working away at it as they are back in the peloton. They're not certainly giving it anything near 100% here, as we can see. They're you know, chatting away and just holding this advantage of around the 7.5-8 minutes.
Matteo Rabottini, man at the back for Neri Sottoli. There's a birthday in the peloton today. It's the birthday of the Neri Sottoli rider, Andrea Fedi. We saw him plenty of breaks earlier on in the Giro d'Italia. 23 today, so happy birthday to him. Rider from Prato in Tuscany. First professional year, first Giro d'Italia. And of course, he's been right up there in the Fuga Pianarello standing. Rode well in the Tour of Turkey as well. Of course, has previously rode decently in national championships at both under 23 and junior level. There's Jussi Vaikkonen now. Yesterday came over the line, just like Pippo Pozzato a few years ago at Roma Maxima. Hands in the air and celebrating as we see Stefano Pirazzi, the number 31 there, the man who was right to celebrate. Now, at the time, I think you and I thought it was a bit of a joke from Jussi Vaikkonen, but afterwards on Twitter, he called himself the clown of the day, which suggests that he was serious. Oh dear, it's not the first time we've seen that. We've seen it quite often recently as well, and I really don't understand why he did it yesterday, because we've got race radios here at the Giro, and the other races we've seen it have been Europe Tour races, lower category races, perhaps a case of pulling the earphone out and not knowing what was going on.
Well, I thought he was just playing and having a bit of a joke yesterday, because, you know, the victory salute didn't seem like he was really excited, and, you know, to win a stage like that in a big 3-week tour, I was, you know, expecting much more of emotion and much more joy from him. He just put up his hands, and I said to myself, well, you know, he's just playing about now, and, you know, with his friends maybe back home, his clubmates or something, so, you know, he's going to have a bit of a joke about this. But surprisingly, it was serious. But we've seen it last year as well. Betancourt, we remember he came in with the peloton. There was a breakaway. Belkov actually won the stage. It was an uphill finish, about a kilometre uphill, and Betancourt came in, and he was, you know, sure. You could see the way he went about it, given the victory salute, and that he was really, you know, happy. But unfortunately, Belkov was in front. But I didn't take much notice of that yesterday, because I didn't think he was being serious.
Well, very much like you, I thought that he was having a little pop at Super Pippo, actually. Pozzato watching this on the telly all the way from Japan. He's been at the Tour of Japan, not picked for the Giro d'Italia. Again, that's another transfer rumour that's going to start and go on as the season goes on, I think. Possible divorce with his team, we shall see. But in the end, it turned out he was being serious. Dear, dear.
There's been many divorces for people.
He's had a few, yeah. I think another one might be on the way. All does not seem well with Lampre and Pippo Pozzato. We shall see. Front of the race, Julian Arredondo there in the blue jersey, right at the front. He's the king of the mountains. Alongside him, Edoardo Sardini, the young rider who's a good 2 hours and 7 minutes behind for Bardiani, but has been going well in the mountains at the Giro del Trentino. There he is on the right-hand side. On the left in the red, we have the Belgian, Tim Wellens, in the break yesterday. Ivan Basso, deluxe name in the break here on the left-hand side. One thing you certainly can't accuse him of in this Giro d'Italia is having a lack of fight. He's certainly had a lack of form, and he was already worried about it coming into this Giro, I think. He had a very, very poor Tour de Romandie. Again, not always necessarily nowadays in this modern era the best place to show your form so close to a Grand Tour. Perhaps just building up, getting the final days in, but it was particularly worrying how he was dropped almost as soon as the climb started over in Switzerland. But he's racing here. This is a strong gradient, as you can see. 15% on these first slopes of the Passo Redebus. A shorter climb, this one. Under 10 kilometres. On the actual classified part, we're talking around 8Ks. And then that final climb of the day, all the way up to Rifugio Panarotta. Going close to 2,000 metres today, 1,760. .1 Ks to go. 7 minutes and 32. Haven't seen much of Fabio Duarte in this Giro d'Italia. He's tried and tried, but he's a rider who's never really seemed to realise his potential. 56 minutes and 23 down. Colombia came with all sorts of fantastic ideas of really lighting this race up. They've done well to do so and have a real go at trying to get in the breakaway every day. But as far as the GC is concerned, I have to say that personally, Duarte's been a bit disappointing.
Yes, well, I was expecting some of the Colombian riders to be a bit better in general classification. We did see them 2 days ago on that difficult stage. They were very active in the earlier part. They were the ones who went in the attack, but just weren't able to finish off in the end. And when you have to go out in the attack earlier on, you pay the price a bit later in the day. And they have suffered a bit, but they have guys, I suppose, for a team, getting in by wild card as well. They have been in the breaks a lot, and they have been unlucky as well not to win stages. They were close. They were close sometimes for a stage victory, but close is not good enough. You have to get that victory, and unfortunately for Colombia, they haven't managed it yet. And time is also running out there for them, and it will be disappointing. I think they would have expected to get a stage victory out of this year's one.
Another man we saw right at the back there, a little disappointing in terms of not getting in the breaks that we wanted him to get in. Johnny Hogeland as well. So when he signed for Androni, the eternal breakaway team at the Giro d'Italia, and you put 2 and 2 together, you think, wow, this is going to be interesting this year at the Giro. And he's not really been up there. There he is, getting dropped at the back of the peloton, Dutch champion.
Yes, not good at all. He's not on the form, and we have never seen him in one of the big breakaways that succeeded in the end. So it tells us that he is not in good shape, and not anything like he was in the past years there, where he was in breaks, a number of times in big tours.
Well, it's a miracle, of course, that he's actually riding. He suffered so much. That famous shocking incident at the Tour de France where he had cuts, and he still has massive scars and problems all over his legs. Amazingly, he gets out on a bike, certainly not as combative as we thought he might be. One man who has been combative, one man who has really catapulted himself on to the top of the table in world cycling. Fabio Aru, Sardinian rider who's 6th. Fabio.
Ogni secondo conta.
So each second counts now, Fabio.
Potrebbe essere in Rifugio Panarotta.
What can happen on today's stage?
Mancano ancora 4 giorni.
Well, there's 4 days to go. 3 tough stages included in that. I think each meter is going to be very important, and each climb has its own story. We'll see what we can do, but of course we'll give our best. What do you know about this climb? Well, I went there last year. We went there because the Giro del Trentino finished there last year. This year I think it's fairly tough, and there'll be space, I think, for the riders who want to make a difference today. Are you confident about the time trial tomorrow? Well, the time trial, I think it's going to be very tough. It's an hour of maximum effort. I don't even know myself what I can give on this stage. We'll see. Well, Sean, he's a confident young man. He's a man who has really shown his talents to their full extent for the first time this week. But he's not making any predictions either, rather like Wilco Kelderman in a less shy kind of way. He's not promising anything, is he?
No, and that is the tactic of most riders. There's very few riders that will say, well, I will attack at this point. And he has done a good race. He's got his stage victory. He's there in the general classification. If he holds on to that place, well, then it will be a great Giro for him. If he moves up, it will be always a bonus. And if he slips down in general classification, it will be a bit disappointing for him. But again, he's got his stage victory, and I think he's got his glory from this race. And from now on, if he can, move up, well, that will be a real bonus for him.
Riders going through Bedollo. Famous vineyards, even up here in the mountains. The Muller Togau wine just gives you an indication of the linguistic diversity up here. But they're all still crazy for the Giro. Hugely important terrain in the history of the Giro d'Italia, these valleys and mountains. Ivan Basso at the front, another man important in the history of this great pink race. Well, he's getting some attention today. Was down at Monte Carlo at the weekend. Not quite sure how he got on there. 52.5 k's to go. Back to his brand new day job at the minute as we see Philip Dijkman. Well, there's no tape over that one. Sky with two riders in the break. Again, we will repeat, this is a big opportunity for Team Sky to finally get something out of the Giro. Because one thing that they can't be accused of lacking in this race is fight in the final week. They've really tried to get in the breakaways, they've given it all. It's just been a poor performance.
Yes, it's been a disappointing performance for them, I suppose. You know, they have been in the breakaways and unfortunately just not able to finish it, and that is it's difficult. You know, it gets very frustrating when you have the riders, and Cataldo capable of winning a stage on more than one occasion, but circumstances, you know, the race started to take up earlier because of some reasons. Team wanted to ride, and they didn't have enough of an advantage to go on to the final climb. And when you have riders, you know, in the shape to win the stages, and it just doesn't work out, well, it's more difficult again. If they're not good enough, well, then, you know, what can you do? You say, well, you know, the riders are not riding well, we're going through a bad period, a bad patch, and they haven't got the form. But that is a difficult one, so we'll have to see today, can they, you know, rectify that situation. And it is, you know, it is becoming a disappointing Giro for Sky. And unfortunately, Richie Porte, he was the one who was supposed to lead the team. He hasn't had a good year, and he didn't take part in this one, so it's been a disappointing one for a long time, and it's continuing on.
.52 kilometres to go. It's the Giro d'Italia. 3 big mountain stages start today. Rifugio Panarotta today, Monte Grappa and the mountain time trial tomorrow. Monte Zoncolan, where that man Ivan Basso won just a few years ago on his way to taking the Giro d'Italia. Not going to take the Giro d'Italia this year. He's 22 minutes and 28 seconds behind, but he is part of a break here. 14 riders who had a 7-minute advantage over the chasing group behind. 52 k's left. They're on the penultimate climb of the day before the long final climb that has quite steep gradients. Tom de Gent and some other very, very quality riders such as Arredondo, Cataldo, Rabottini, Duarte, Pelizzotti, Sella, Zardini, all in this break. Sean, it's looking pretty good for these guys if there's a winner from the break today.
It looks like it's going to be a winner from the breakaway, although again, that 7 minutes, it's not a major time gap considering this mountaintop finish we have to get up. And if they start pushing on in the peloton, you know, in the next 10 kilometres, well, then the advantage will come down. But if they just keep on working back in peloton with Movistar controlling the situation, there should be somebody here able to go on the final climb and hold off. But I'd not be putting my money down at the moment. You'd have to wait a bit more to see if we can really say and really guarantee that the breakaway or some of the breakaway will be able to hold on out there.
Passo San Pellegrino, done and dusted today, just under 2,000 metres after we left Belluno. On our way up right now to the Passo del Redebus. Davide Cassani getting plenty of airtime as usual. Formerly a commentator, now the national selector. And a look in person. He's taken over from Paolo Bettini, the man we saw in the car with Fernando Alonso. And there is Ivan Basso. Of course, there'll be a big fight to be selected for the World Championships this year, which are going to be held in Galicia, in Spain. Pontevedra, I think it is. Colombians will be going with a strong team for that one. Italians always under pressure to light up the race.
Hopefully it's not raining.
It seems whenever we've come to race in Italy over the last couple of years, we've had the weather, haven't we? If you think of the Giro back last year, those torrential downpours in the World Championships. And I actually used to live in Florence. I lived there for 6 months at university, and I'd never seen weather like it, certainly not in August. And, sorry, the start of September, I should say. It was absolutely crazy there. And yes, it made it an epic race for certain reasons, but of course the scenery there is pretty beautiful, and you certainly didn't want it ruined by all of the clouds around. In the end, we had a race that told its own stories, and again involved this team at the front. Movistar now chasing it on. And once again, the great thing about cycling here is this. We can see people get a chance to get close to their heroes, see them in person. It's like no other sport in that respect. A couple of photos there to send to the friends, and then they're going to come right past once they come round the hairpin. And here they come. Tom de Gent at the front, Ivan Basso behind, the Belgian and the Italian. And in the meantime, the main group just starting the climb as well. Fran Ventoso wheeling off as Eros Capecchi can be seen, as is Gorka Izagirre there. Nairo Quintana, yet again entirely in pink. Pink helmet, pink shorts, already surprised with how quick he got hold of them yesterday. They must have been hanging about the back of the team bus somewhere. They thought that there could be a possibility of being pink, almost a probability. Again, if you're superstitious though, Sean, it's not something you want to do, tempt fate, by having that pre-prepared gear around.
No, certainly not. And it was surprising that they pulled out the full kit very quickly. Not sure maybe if Giro organisation, maybe they had arranged that also, and of course if the team suppliers or the suppliers of the race leader kit for the organisation do that, well then, you know, but I don't think it's the rider who would, you know, just think of doing that even and you know, have it done, because it's something that the riders, I don't think they will be really up for. But it's all about, yes, the branding now, and you know, getting it out there, and you know, the brand of clothing that the team use, or the brand of clothing that the organisation is sponsored by with the race leaders' jerseys.
Of course, again, I think I'm getting at, if you're a superstitious rider, you might specifically make a point of saying, no, I don't want that stuff hanging around, I don't want it being made yet, I do not want to tempt fate. But Quintana confident enough not to get involved in that, as you say. He would have had much more important things on his mind. And there he is. It's better for us, we can spot him so much easier. Certainly is a very pink, if you get what I mean, this year, the Giro leader's jersey. It's been a softer colour in recent years. We've gone over the hardest gradient on this Redebus climb. Halfway along it was 15% in the first kilometre or so. 14 out in the break. Those riders in the break, two from Androni Giocattoli, Franco Pellizotti, the former Italian champion, alongside the former king of the mountains in this race, Emanuele Sella. Bardiani, three-time stage winners, three different winners so far on the Giro. One of the top teams so far, despite the fact that they're from continental level. Edoardo Zardini is in there for them, a winner of a stage at the Giro del Trentino. The man at the front here is Fabio Duarte, finally doing something for Colombia. Just behind him, and expect him to be ready to make a move in a minute. Looks around, Juliana Redondo in the blue leader's jersey of the mountains classification. There's Ivan Basso for Cannondale. Martin Kaiser's there for Belkin as well in the green and white. Ivan Rovny in the yellow and blue right at the back there for Tinkoff Saxo. A Megafauna Quick Step have Tom de Gent, good mountain man, in the luminous yellow. Second to last, as we see the group on the road, is Matteo Rabottini, one of the last to join. Alberto Losada's there for Team Katusha. Tim Wellens for Lotto Belisol. Two riders from the Sky team. Philip Dijkman, yet again. Dario Cataldo, yet again. Certainly can't fault them for trying. They will continue to try. I think that just about gets everybody. 14 men in the break. Which paced very, very high in the first hour or so. as you'd expect on a day like this, certainly given the chances for the break to do something. Passo San Pellegrino was raced at a formidable pace, and finally there was some sort of agreement once the right composition had been found and everybody was happy enough to let it go. Perhaps the last chance that the break can win a stage in this Giro. We will see. Movistar escorting their man in pink up the hill. It's a game of spot the Orica Green Edge rider today because there's only 2 of them left. Bad news for Ivan Santaromita, who went through illness this morning, did not start. Michael Hepburn is a neo-pro riding for Orica Green Edge alongside Svein Toft. Just 2 of them left, hoping to get their home. Interesting, Santaromita told his story in the paper this morning. He actually stopped at the top of the Stelvio the other day for 6 minutes, went into a bar, got completely undressed, had to be helped to get dressed again in dry clothes, got a massage to warm up, and he was back on the course. Arredondo makes his move. Wants the points for the second category Passo del Rebebus. 50 kilometres to go. He's already taken the 32 points for the first category Passo San Pellegrino, and he's being chased down by Dario Cataldo now. Cataldo's move in the break has already given him points as well today, and I think as it lies, he stands second in the King of the Mountains competition. Cataldo is up there. These two have a good lead. There will be competition, it will be fought for here. Arredondo in the blue at the front, King of the Mountains leader. Remember, they changed the colour of the jersey a couple of years ago. Used to be the green jersey. Cataldo's points earlier on today have taken him above Tim Wellens and Robinson Chalaput. And he is now second on the King of the Mountains classification, just behind Arredondo. On the wheel of Arredondo here is the Italian from Sky. Cataldo behind, Arredondo in front. Into the final little bit of a section towards the top. Good to see the fans up here. Remember, well in the middle of the working week. There will be thousands and thousands of people on the roads and on the slopes of Monte Zoncolan on Saturday. 1 kilometre to the top of the Passo Redebus. Of course, it's given the mountainous nature of the Giro d'Italia, Sean. The King of the Mountains prize at the Giro is a very special jersey.
Well, yes, it is. You know, it's a big one for the teams to have the jersey, and you know, you get the exposure every day. You have to do the podium at the start of the race. We see when we do have some shots at the start, the riders with the leaders' jerseys, they're on the front of the race, so they roll out, so they get maximum air time, and it's a big thing for the teams to, you know, win the jersey. To have for some riders just to have the jersey for a number of days, but to win it outright, it's very important for the rider and the team.
.3 Ks to go. Arredondo and Cataldo. Colombian support on the roads. Looks behind in his blue jersey. Cataldo behind him, waiting to make the move, just hanging on the wheel. Second category this, so not the full complement of points available. Michael Buck asking if the mountain time trial will give King of the Mountains points. Yes. It's a classified climb tomorrow. Whoever does win the stage will get the maximum points. And of course, those points available for Monte Zoncolan as well. But a second category, then a first category. Big, big set of points here. Now, onto the pedals we go. Just we saw a minute ago on the side of the road with the camera phones. It's the same scenario here at the top. Again, they look behind. Cataldo playing this wonderfully. Thinking of making his move, does make his move in front. Can Arredondo follow a look behind into the eyes? Gets a little more flat towards the top here, and Cataldo thinks he's got the beating of Arredondo. They're going to be sprinting for 125 metres. Arredondo on the left wants the points here, wants to almost secure that jersey for him. It's a fight between first and second. Arredondo's going to go out. He will take the maximum points and increase his lead on Cataldo. Good little ride. Very, very tactical last kilometre there, Sean.
Yes, quite calm about it, and we could see Cataldo just, making a little bit of a move. Arredondo just, waiting and, taking it up at the right moment. And we've seen him in the past. He is very, strong. The top of the mountain, he can put in, for a climber, he can put in an explosive sprint as well. And we could see there against Cataldo, who is quite fast, and just wasn't able to match him. I think the pace set by Arredondo as well was probably after, putting maybe Cataldo in a little bit of difficulty.
There's Cataldo on the right hand side in the Sky jersey. Again, showing good fight. Arredondo has had his sights on this jersey, though, ever since he lost those 18 minutes on the way to Monte Cassino. Six minutes and 23 in front of the Maglia Rosa group. 14, 10 and 6 the points. Arredondo extending his lead by 4. So between those two at the minute, 47.4 k's to go. There's Rigoberto Urán. Big part of his day just approaching. Pozzovivo and Age Desert. Waiting. Not much has been said about Pozzovivo in the last few days. Kept himself quiet, but he will certainly want to attack if he feels good. There's Quintana in the pink, by the way. Very much, thank you very much to Enduro, who do make the kit this year for Movistar. They've written in to say that the shorts are made by them, and only the jersey comes from the organisers, of course. So they were pretty prepared and ready. Quintana, splendid in pink, however it came about. There he is, third wheel, right through the middle. This group's going to get thinner. And then we have that descent again into the final climb. At the moment, the gap is down to 6 minutes and 20. Interesting to see what happens once they crest the top here, and what sort of a gap that the break has right at the bottom of the final climb. Movistar taking good control. There's Tim Wellens on the right hand side in the red, Ivan Basso in the lime green, and Tom again takes control. Looks as though, Sean, they've got themselves fairly organised straight away again.
Yes, I think the mountain classification, they just allowed the riders who wanted to go for it take that moment of glory, and they did not continue over the top. You could see Cataldo there, he just rolled over the top with Arredondo, and now they're joining up forces again. And they certainly need to do it, because as we can see, the advantage, has never grown out what I was expecting. I thought they would have, been allowed 15, 17 minutes at some point, but that hasn't been the case at all. And it's going to still 45 kilometers to go with this 6:22 an advantage, but also that's 6:22, so it's that's what the advantage is at this moment. And it's not a lot, considering this long climb at the end of the day. If they really start pushing on back in the peloton from here on, well, then that could come down on the final climb, which is an 18 kilometer climb, or 16 kilometer climb, sorry. It's going to be interesting to see if there's somebody out there good enough to be able to hold with that just over 6 minutes advantage.
Well, there's certainly quality climbers, there's certainly quality riders and big names. Now then, 3 riders in front, and it looks as though there's been a bit of a split. How is this going to hold? I think it's on the descent here. Shouldn't, but it's exactly what we saw on the last descent, actually, with Basso and a couple of other riders going out in front.
A little bit more urgency here in the peloton, as we can see. They're starting to get ready 500 metres from the summit here, and we can see Quintana here just, you know, getting the body warmer on, wrapping up a bit, and then we can see Movistar, more riders really getting right on the front of the peloton, so they'll again, you know, just take control of this one, the descent, and try and prevent anybody who might, you know, thinking of pushing on the descent here.
Now then, what's all that about? We sit on the tour every year, each village competing. Not sure about the animal rights implications there. Anyway, we move on. "44 kilometres to go." Six minutes 11 seconds. As Sean said, everybody getting ready. Quintana with the bib on, ready for the defending. About to get the official time gap. We had it 6 minutes and 12 on the GPS. 6:16 is the timed time gap, all the way over the Passo Redebus. One climb to go, and that is our final climb of the day. Back on the descent. Tom de Gent taking it on with Ivan Basso and Fabio Duarte. It looks as though there's a bit of an advantage being eked out here. Just a couple of 100 metres for the moment. We're off for a quick break. 43 k's to go. This is the view at the arrival today, Rifugio Panarotta. This is the final climb. Everybody testing it out. It has been raining, as you can see. Thankfully, the brollies are down now. We're waiting. 3.5 hours almost into today's stage. Ivan Basso, Fabio Duarte are out in front. Alongside is Thomas de Gent. And on the descent, they're managing to make up a little bit of time. Five minutes and 55. 39.9 kilometers to go. Rifugio Panarotta is our destination today. Emanuele Sella has joined them. Tim Wellens as well. Interesting group of 5. There had been 14 out there. Of course, perhaps not happy with the gap that they had right at the top. Little bit of upping of pace behind, with Movistar controlling on the climb. Brought the gap down to 6 minutes and 1. Luckily here on the descent, the roads are dry. Bit of the road to negotiate. Quintana there in pink. Got that gilet on just to protect himself from the cold and the wind. Again, thankfully, the rain has stayed away from the majority of the race, but there are wet roads at the finish. Sella, Duarte, de Gent, Basso and Wellens. Also out there in the original 14-man break were Pelizzotti, Zardini, Kaiser, Rabottini. Rovni was there as well, as were the two men from Sky, Cataldo and Dignan, Losado and Arredondo. Arredondo taking the points that should see him, barring a big disaster here, into the King of the Mountains jersey at the end of the race. Ivan Basso driving it on the descent. I've been doing previously on the first descent from Passo del San Pellegrino, pardon me. 5:59. 38 kilometers per hour is the average speed. And onto the wet section of the roads now. Ginto's section of roads covered by the trees and haven't had quite the chance to dry out after the showers. Well, we start, as you said, one of the two teams with 9 riders there. Track Factory Racing being the other, but not particularly in the fight for the pink jersey. 6 minutes and 16 seconds. Tim Wellens, quick conversation there with Ivan Basso. 5 in this group, and they really are driving it along. Going to be interested to see as more riders come across. In fact, it looks as though they've managed to make the junction. A few people asking if Basso's been taking descending lessons here. Of course, no longer has Nibali at his side. Remember the way that there was that crazy descent a few years ago when Basso last won the Giro. David Arroyo was out there really going for it on the attack to the grand finale of the stage. I think it was Aprica at the end of the day where it all finished, the day that Basso went into pink. I was just about to ask for those time gaps, but it looks as though it's all come together again. 6 minutes and 21 is the gap. Maglia Rosa group. Just waiting for that final battle begin. And Sean, of course, it's a long descent this. It's going quick. It's not the most technical of descents. And thankfully, we've seen mostly dry roads, the odd bit of damp. It's not going to be long before this final battle is upon us now.
Yes, we're going to be there quickly because a long descent here, and then we start our final 16.85 kilometres, and Basso is going down quite fast here. Possibly know the road here, and it does help when you know the descent. You can go down at a good rate. It is a little bit damp in places, so you have to be careful there. We've seen there you get dry patch and then onto a wet patch, so that can be a place where something can get cut out. Although back in the peloton of Quintana, pink jersey, they're not going down at a real fast rate. It's more in that breakaway. Basso seems to be pushing at a very strong pace for the moment.
"35 kilometres remaining. 136 k's into today's stage. We've done the San Pellegrino, we've done the Redebus, and we are now on our way down towards that final climb. Rifugio Panarotto, all the way up the Val Sugana. 6 minutes 45. Will it be enough? Won't it be enough? Who will take it on? Who will win the stage? Will it be another of those days that there's so much going on behind that it affects what's going on up front? What is certain is that the group has managed to stay fairly compact towards this last climb as well. On the descent too. A few guys who are spread. There shouldn't be too many problems for the time limit today. Good news for the likes of Nasser Bouhanni and people like that, hoping to hold on for the red jersey fight. There's Martin Kaiser. He's been hiding in this breakaway today. We haven't seen too much of him. Dutch rider from Belkin Pro Cycling Team. Again, the graphical confirmation of all of this group out there in front, but it's continuously evolving now. We wait for things to happen. Bells toll. Everything's painted pink as usual. It's amazing when the Giro comes to town in these small areas. Nothing happens for the rest of the year in a lot of these small towns. As soon as this happens, everybody comes to the party. We've seen it with all the fans on the side of the road already. Again, how close you can get to everybody. One of the unique selling points of cycling. Certainly in these very, very small areas. I know we had a few people asking why the Giro doesn't always finish in one place. Of course, down the years it's historically finished in Milan, but we've had finishes all over the place, and in the last couple of years we've tended to go to smaller cities, and again, if you go to Milan, it's that bit harder to see everybody, even though the buses are parked up and there's so many people around that you really cannot get close to the heroes. That's not the case up here in the mountains, where, let's face it, the race is won and lost. We're going to sit in the Zoncolan, fantastic sight we've had 3 times over the last decade. Natural stadium of the Zoncolan on Saturday. This is the man they'll all be watching, Nairo Quintana. The team have kept him well protected so far today. Six minutes and 45, the gap growing again. Again, it's really difficult to make the calculation, Sean, of exactly how much time they need, this group at the bottom, just because you really don't know what's going to go on behind.
No, this is always, I suppose, the good thing about cycling. There's always that suspense, and you know, at this moment with 31.8 kilometers to go, 6:43 the advantage, with a big breakaway with some, you know, very strong, good climbers here, you know, some big names in the cycling world. Is it going to be enough? It's looking more and more that case, because back in the peloton we can see the team of Quintana are just setting a slower pace on the descent. They're not going anything like we did see Basso pushing on the front of the breakaway rider. So this advantage, we can see it is growing out, and now it looks like that there should be somebody up there that will be able to hold on, but they cannot start, you know, playing around too much, and at the bottom of the climb they're going to have to start working on it immediately. And you know, it's a 16.8 kilometer climb, so it's a long one. It's going to be difficult, and will we see some attacks in the peloton? That is the question, and that's often the case when you have this advantage, where it's possible to to get to the front guys, and the stage victory is out there. We could see some action earlier on from the main peloton.
6:44. It's staying fairly stable for the moment. Again, you can see just how quick everything's going down here. Kilometers to go, really disappearing. Just 30 k's. Once more those red flags, just to point out the bollards in the way there. Belizzotti and Sella in the group, Androni riders, everything back together down the bottom here. The man in the light green and white is Zardini. It's the team that we've been watching. .651. Digden's still in this group, another man who's tried and tried and tried. Will it be finally his day? Got another 30 k's to go, Banner. Again, we started off with rain today. We're getting a few spots now, but look at all these people. Up towards and through the Val Sugana, finishing at Rifugio Panarotta today. The first time since 1966. Great turnout. Into the town of Pergine, Val Sugana. Charlie Gall, Miguel Poblet, Gianni Motta, all winners at Rifugio Panarotta. Well, have done really well to keep everybody together here. Again, they've had a little bit of luck. You mentioned the strength of the team, and on days like today, it could be vital. Again, you're looking at other teams who've lost 2, 3 men. It's some of the guys have lost some of their big mountain men. Certainly Fabio Aru has lost Brajkovic and Scarponi. And again, you look at how these teams measure up to each other, and once you get to the end of a race where everybody's tired, the big climbs, it's really where it starts to matter, isn't it?
Yes, well, it's very important when you're race leader, or if you have a jersey to defend, more so race leader, you need the team around you, and you need all your riders, and that is a real good one for Movistar. They have everybody in there, and they have some, really good riders to defend the pink jersey, and they've come here with that plan, of course. They built the team around Quintana. He was the big favourite, and they have got through the race. Very lucky that with all the crashes we've had, they've had riders who went down. Quintana himself was on the ground on at least one occasion, and some of the other ones, Ventoso, we did see he was bandaged up for a number of days after falling very heavily, but they got through, and here they are with a complete team and doing a great job. And it's going to be important right to the end here to have a team around you, and they're really controlling the race. Since yesterday we've seen them, they're just dominating what the pace will be on the descents, on the uphill, and it's working out well from so far.
28 k's to go. We're on our way to the final climb. Beautiful scenery from northern Italy. We'll be back with the final battle itself coming up in just a couple of minutes. For now, though, time for a quick break for us. Keep it Eurosport Cycling, the home of cycling. 26 kilometres remain, chatting at the front of the peloton. Chasing on this group, not too bothered about the guys in the front group at the minute. Best placed to the breakaway riders today is the former two-time Giro winner Ivan Basso. Movistar discussing how they will manage it. What they have to think about first are the attacks behind. Plenty more cycling going on as well. Of course, I Am Cycling today have been successful in the Bayern Rundfahrt. Tour of Belgium won't spoil that for you at all, because you can watch it on Eurosport Player this week. We've got our own dedicated special channel, and you can get the highlights as well. Matt Stevens and Brian Smith bringing that to you. Tour of Belgium here has been a very good race today. Pegine Valsugana. Town's buildings keeping their 16th century style. But that's the Gothic castle that is mentioned in the caption. It's now a hotel, apparently. And we'll have to save that one for when we come and ride the Dolomite, Sean.
Well, a bit difficult to get up there at the end of the day, on top of a climb.
You want where you can descend to, don't you?
Yes, we'll get someplace in the valley.
Back to the front of the race, the serious stuff with Emanuele Sella. There's Martin Kaiser, Juliana Redondo, Zardini's there, as is Pelizzotti. Oh, and listen to the encouragement. They know that there's a real possibility for these guys today. Matteo Rabottini. 7 minutes and 34. The gap actually looks like it's going out again, which suggests that behind we saw Movistar just calming things, chatting between each other. They're just concentrating on their job now, which is looking up for the rest of the GC guys.
Yes, well, they want to get onto the final climb in safe conditions, and we did see on the descent they were really taking it slowly, and not surprising that the advantage is growing out for our breakaway guys, and now it looks the case with 25 k's to the finish, so we're getting very close to the beginning of the final climb of the day, and it has to be between some of the breakaway men out here, and who's going to be the one with the more energy left at this point in the race, because we've had a very difficult number of days. Weather conditions in the most previous days very, very demanding, so we could see some surprises. The ones we're expecting who can climb well, they might be the ones who will have trouble here, and we could have a totally surprise one, because when you look down to that list you automatically would go for Basso, of course. He would be one of the ones who can climb well. Pelizzotti as well, who should be very much up there. Sella, we've seen him on a few times. We've seen him mostly on the end of the peloton here in this race, but is he coming about? And he could be the one who could come back and do a performance like he has done quite a while ago now, but he is capable of climbing as well. And there's so many other ones, Cataldo, Dignan, all of those guys. I wouldn't like to have to select a winner here from this very strong breakaway group.
Conversations on the front about what's going to happen and how it's going to happen. What is going to happen is the climb begins soon. All the way up from where we are now, Pergine Valsugana. The road does start to climb, but we don't want any level crossing nonsense. Except none of that is involved. It's a pink train anyway, going past the pink race. Front of the race with Pelizzotti, Zardini, Basso, Sella, Kaiser, Duarte, Wellenstegen, Cataldo, Rabottini, Losada and Dijkman, alongside Ivan Rovni and Julian Arredondo. Well, it's been Colombians who've been in charge of the Maglia Rosa recently. Could it be Colombians to fight it out towards the top again? Duarte and Arredondo. Basso will want something here. The thing that Basso doesn't like on a climb, Sean, is a constant change of gradient. Yes, he hasn't climbed well, but if he finds some form today, yes, it's a steep gradient, but it's one that stays fairly uniform towards the top.
Yes, it is a Basso climb. Is he in the shape? Has he got the condition to do it? But certainly, you know, the gradient doesn't change drastically when we get onto the climb. You know, it does change a bit, but not suddenly. Where you go up a kilometre and then it's a little bit of downhill or a flat section. That's not the case here. It goes up all the time. And if Basso is in good shape, but he is going to have his work cut out to get a stage victory here today, because you know, with the leading group, the names are up here. It's going to be an interesting one, and as we can see, 7:46 at the moment. It's growing all the time. Back in the peloton, we can see AG2 La Mondiale taking it up, and I think it's Julien Berard who was on the front here. So they're getting a little bit concerned for the team classification. But again, with 7:45, they're going to lose some time to Omega Pharma Quickstep, but nothing to really panic about. But they are going to up the pace a bit here, as we can see more of AG2R appearing on the front.
That conversation was happening a moment ago. Intoso riding just behind, still in charge of things for Movistar. Be until they hit the climb. .9 kilometres from the finish. 7 minutes and 36 seconds for the breakaway. In the valley at the minute. Break has a great chance of staying out today. All depends what happens behind. All depends how many stay up the front in the break when they attack each other as well. There's some strong climbers, mightily strong climbers out in front. We'll also have the very best of them behind. How will Ket 11's fare? Lots of you watching in Australia again, very good evening to you. Mentioned that your Orica Green Edge team are hanging on in there with two riders. It's Feintuft and Michael Hepburn. Great start of the Giro for them, but they've been so unlucky with the injuries and then the crashes and the virus that caused people to abandon the race. Some spots of rain on the lens. We've had rain up the climb today. It's been that sort of strange day, and thankfully it hasn't been the bang-on miserable day that we've had so many times in this Giro so far. We've had bits of sun and, as you can see, mostly dry roads. Rabottini takes his point on the front. Arredondo behind. Now, Sean, I'm looking down at the couple of teams that have, in fact, 3 teams that have a couple of riders in there. Yeah, I was right the first time, 2 teams. Sky and Androni Giocattoli, they're the ones who can afford to play this a little differently tactically, can't they? Well,
again, numbers are always important out in the breakaway, and we've seen that of recent yesterday with Bardiani. They had, the 3 riders in the breakaway yesterday, and worked out for them very well, winning the stage. And will it be the case? But you need to have guys who are still very competitive and feeling strong at the end of the stage, because if you have 2 men but one of them is pretty cooked when you get to the final climb, he's going to be no advantage anyway. So it will be interesting. We will see the first selection, I think, pretty quickly on the climb on the earlier slopes out of this group of this big breakaway group.
Roberto Reverberi there, the direttore sportivo, I should say, at this Giro d'Italia for Bardiani. He's the man just looking pensive in the car there, waiting to see what Edoardo Zardini can do. Remember, he won a stage on the Giro del Trentino. Last year, the Giro del Trentino were on these very roads. What can he come up with today? Flicks his arm, wants Sella to come through. Pelizzotti, pardon me, on this occasion. Breathe easy, strap on his nose, the captain of Androni Giocattoli. Well, who's going to win the stage? Remember, get in touch. Hashtag Eurosport Cycling, @RobHatchTV. We'd love to know your opinions. Will it be finally Sky's day? Dignan, Giro started in Ireland. Is it one for him? Cataldo, tried and tried and tried. There's Losada, something from the Giro maybe for Katusha. It's been a disaster for them. Tikoff Saxo have ridden well. Only Chris Anker Sorensen having to go home for them. Certainly hoping he's resting up well after that awful crash on the way into Savona. Said he can't remember 25 k's at that stage. That was extremely worrying. That's the lake down at Levico Terme. That's where we begin our climb today. Up on Via Roma, starting up 16.8 kilometres from the finish. We hit the maximum gradient of 14% just under halfway. Two small sections of 14%. The gradient towards the end, though, is a big average of 8.5%. Good to see the riders welcomed. Good to see them given the encouragement they need. That's where we're headed on the left. A view down. Vico Terme, one of those places well worth a visit. And it's been a day so far of waiting, waiting, Sean. Back in the peloton and in the break to a certain extent. No real fireworks from the off as we've seen on other stages. It's been very, very tactical so far.
Yes, and I think it's a consequence of reasons. You know, we're getting into the part of the race where there's a lot of people tired, and fatigue is a problem. Tomorrow, the time trial, the individual time trial, the teams with the riders in general classification, they want to have a calm day here, and you know, to allow their riders to you know, recover as much as possible and to have you know, a big assault on this final time trial, because this could be, you know, a decision making for the top 5, the top 3 on the podium. So there's a lot to play for here. You know, there's so much of little time between the riders in general classification. The time trial is going to be so important, and that is the normal thing, is a sort of a transition stage, and you get the breakaway, and as we've been, you know, seeing here, the breakaway is just allowed to hang out there, gain a little bit of time, then lose a bit of time, and it's been one of these normal days before a very important time trial coming to the end of a 3-week tour.
7 minutes and 14 seconds. 19.3 k's to go. Well, a lot of you are already writing in saying they want it to be Cataldo's day, they want it to be Basso's day. They're the two biggest favourites, it seems, amongst the viewers at home. Also a lot of support for the Colombians. Duarte, in this case, talked about the fact that he's been a little disappointing on GC so far. Thought that he might be up there. There's Luca Scinto driving the car. Could it be a day for his man? Matteo Rabottini gets out on the radio. Message up to Rabottini, who's in that yellow jersey. In the meantime, Emanuele Sella comes back for a final chat. 18.8 k's to go. Bottles being taken on board. Will the commissaires be watching? Away behind for Luca Paolini, and again pointing towards the support for the charitable organisation that is organised by Marina Romoli, and of course all that it supports for the research into spinal injuries. He's been a great patron of that charity. But it put on his helmet. Remember, just visit his Twitter feed if you want to find out more about it. $18 kilometres remain. Stage 18 of this Giro d'Italia. First of 3 very, very hard days. It's been calm, it's been relatively quiet so far today. People perhaps thinking of the torture that is to come. Certainly if you need a good time tomorrow on the time trial to Monte Grappa. Now, Age d'Azur have kept the pace up here. They're thinking of two things: team prize, and of course also Domenico Pozzovivo. In the meantime, behind, a message back to the car from Fran Ventoso, road captain of this Movistar team, defending the race lead of Nairo Quintana. No sign of Rigoberto Urán. He's been hiding today. There's Alberto Losado at the back. Mention all the pain and disappointment for Team Katusha, losing Rodriguez, Caruso, Ambicioso on the same day in the very first week of the race. And of course, Rodriguez being their leader. Giro, absolutely a different kettle of fish for them since that. It's a difficult climb coming up, but as you said, it's, if he's on form, very much a Basso climb today. It's consistent gradient, maximum of 14%, average of over 8%, long enough for those who have the form to make the difference as well. Robert Kieselowski is there. This is back in the peloton. Ryder Hagedal being brought to the front. Be interesting to see how he goes after that mammoth effort the other day.
Yes, and it will be an interesting one. Back in the main peloton of favourites, when you look at the climb we've got here, you know, very a regular climb. Percentage doesn't change drastically or suddenly at any time, and when you look at Rigoberto Urán, I think he would be, you know, probably a little bit stronger in that situation. And the percentage, you know, doesn't go up to the huge percentage many times. It's, you know, a lot of the time it's, you know, 7, 8, 9%. So who will be the best back in main peloton? And Hagedal, I think he can, you know, ride that quite well because he's one of these stronger climbers. I think Urán should be able to do Mike as well. And you know, there's a lot of riders I think will be seeing what way they go on to this climb, and if they're feeling good and there's not a lot of action, certainly at the halfway point they should try and do something here, because before the time trial, you know, that little bit of effort over 3-4 kilometres is not going to take a huge amount out, and you could, you know, take some time if some of the other general classification men seems to be suffering. So they will wait and see, and then maybe test the waters a bit further up.
Who will make that first test? We wait. The climb begins for the breakaway. 6 minutes and 33 is their gap at the bottom of the climb. The question is it enough, and isn't enough for who? Again, if everybody climbs as strongly as they can in this group, it should be enough. It all depends what happens behind. So they climb out of Levico Terme. First kilometre is 8.4% uphill, then there's a very, very slight false flat, -3% for the rest of the kilometre, and it's all uphill. It's slightly harder, and then from 4 kilometres onwards we're talking that steady gradient to the top. Now, Tom de Gent, he's been in the breakaway yesterday. He's having a go at striking out for the minute. Certainly a man who is not scared of attacking, Sean.
No, we've seen him do it before. Attack, you know, at the very beginning of a climb and hold on out there. He's not in this Giro, but with 16 kilometres to go, you know, he is pushing on here, and this is going to, you know, make a selection very quickly, because now the next reaction to try and get after Thomas de Gent here, we will see some of the riders in the breakaway having difficulty, and if they start pushing at this point, there will be a selection very quickly, and they have to. I think with 6:23, they're probably concerned, you know, back in the bunch, if they make a real big assault on the earlier part of the climb, this advantage could come down quickly. So I think there's a little bit of concern with this just over 6 minutes advantage.
6:20 is the gap. Again, concerned then. He's taken it on his way. Remember, he'll have seen the routes. He'll have wanted to get in the break today. We saw him light it up yesterday. Mega Pharma Quickstep, did they have the team to ride Rigoberto Urán to victory? That's been questioned many times. Tom de Gent will have been a vital ally on the climb for him today. If he's further up the climb and it goes wrong in the break, then of course he will be involved with whatever he can give at the end. Drifting back. Thankfully the roads are dry. Dried up a little since the earlier part of the day. There are friends from Australia again. They've been all over this Giro. What a trip it's been for them. Followed us all over Italy. And Miguel Angel Rubiano right at the back, third wheel there. He is the Colombian national champion, showing off that jersey. Had some very nasty crashes. 6 minutes. Of course, the Peloton are going to be gaining. Now then, an idea of what Europcar are thinking of. We saw the interview earlier on with Pierre Rolland. They said they would wait to the final climb. They've waited, but they have come en masse to the front here, Sean, and Pierre Rolland wants to take some more time today.
Yes, well, we've seen Pierre Rolland, he's in the attack many times for a general classification, and I think that the guy who was up there in the top 10, he's probably the one who's been, more present out in breakaways, going quite a long ways out, and it's worked out for him on some occasions. Other times he hasn't gained anything at all after a big effort, but he will, continue on trying here. And is it just to get onto the climb, or are they going to do something else with Europcar? Will they continue on and try and get Pierre Rolland to a launching pad? But we will see very quickly, because the peloton is fast approaching the beginning of the climb.
They certainly are. 5 minutes and 47. Chasers in the shape of Wellens and Rabottini. Tom de Gendt in the lead with less than 15 kilometres to go. The rest of those that he left behind in the breakaway chasing him on. 5 minutes and 40 is the gap from Tom de Gendt and these guys behind to this group. Yukiya Arashiro, Japanese champion, on the front. Yes, the pink race has come to town. It's all about the bicycle as we go up to Rifugio Panarotta. But I wouldn't fancy riding that thing up the top here. Rabottini, the latest to attack. Remember, 2 teams with 2 riders in this group. There's some tactical flexibility for both Androni and Sky. And look, 21 seconds already for Tom de Gendt. It's been a strong enough attack in the first kilometre or so of this climb. But it's as we get into the climb, 3-4 Ks in, that we start to get that proper gradient. A gradient that continues more or less the same all the way up. 2 maximum 14% sections that are 7 and 9 kilometres in respectively. This is Tom de Gendt, solitary leader of the race at the minute. Does he have enough? It's going to be another one of those exciting finishes up the top. It's taken a while to come to the boil today, but this Giro d'Italia, when it's come down to the big moments, hasn't disappointed. Rabottini just drifts back into the group behind. Group into Levico Terme. And the group about to begin their climb. The leader with 14.2 Ks to go. Agi Dessert and Europcar are the teams that want to take it to Movistar here. Europcar for Pierre Rolland. Agi Dessert with Domenico Pozzovivo in 7th overall, 3 minutes 49 down. It's that time of day as well, Sean, where the bigger boys are going to be stopped to be dropped, and it's tickets please for the bus at the back.
Yes, we can see they're being handed out very quickly here. Starting to run out from the end of the peloton of tickets, I think, immediately when they get on the bottom slopes. And not surprising the way AG2R and Europcar push it on here, and we can see that it's Movistar just wanted to take control again, and you could see there that Movistar wanted to go on to the climb at their pace, but other teams with other ideas, and it's causing big problems back here in the tail end of peloton.
And there are those big problems. How many men will Belkin have up the front for Wilco Kelderman? When he's been at the front, there he is, already isolated. It hasn't been a problem for him so far. Really hasn't. Now, Martin Kaiser, another man to have a dig, looking to try and make the bridge up to Tom de Gendt. Kaiser, the Dutchman, who's been part of the 14-man breakaway all the day long. This is the moment he went. It's going to be a case of this all the way up, Sean. Just people making the jump, deciding it's time.
Yes, I think we can see here there's a lot of movement, and the group is splitting all the time. Royals attacking, being caught and attacked again, and de Gendt is really going at a fast pace, because to pull out that 20 seconds, I think he has to be giving it 100%. He wants to get a gap. If you get that 25-30 seconds, well, then it's difficult for a rider to come across, but to hold it, with 13.5 kilometers to go, it's unless he's on a real strong day, it's going to be difficult.
Now Basso, the latest to attack. Wellens had gone as well. Rabottini attacked 2 or 3 times. He's not been able to get too much difference. De Gendt leads. He's on the 8.4% gradient now. So that's what it's like, average gradient up to the top. 3.8% for the Maglia Rosa group. They're on the lower parts of the slope. Good to get those gradients live as well as we're on them. This is our leader of the race at the minute. Thomas de Gendt, formerly on the podium at the Giro d'Italia, has had some miserable form since then. And I know he'd be very, very popular if he made it up and started to show that form again. Another popular winner would be Ivan Basso. On his wheel at the minute, Tim Wellards. Nairo Quintana, all decked out in pink. Plenty of Movistar bodies at the front. And it's Europe car driving at the minute. Agir Dessert seem to have disappeared. 5 minutes and 20 seconds is the gap at the moment. Getting on to the climb proper. 13.1 k's to go. Remember, we've been here 3 times previously in Giro history, all in the space of just over 10 years. In the 50s, it was Charlie Gall. Then, of course, after that, we had a very, very strong winner in the shape of Miguel Poblet. A year later, 1966, Gianni Motta, the last winner up here. Martin Kaiser trying to make that junction up to Tom de Gendt. Now Garmin getting interested. Remember, they have reason to be interested as well. The man riding for them at the minute is Nathan Haas. Pierre Rolland takes on an energy gel. There's Adriano Malori as well. Finally got that bandage and gauze off. Another of those riders that's been mummified throughout this Giro d'Italia. There is Wilco Kelderman in the green and white. We heard from him earlier on today, just in conversation with rider Hejsdal. Tom de Gendt, the leader of the race on the left. 21 seconds to Martin Kaiser, so he's holding that advantage, Sean.
Yes, he is going really strong out front, considering there's a lot of attacks. We can see Kaiser here, and then Philip Dignan just pushing on the front here with Arredondo in his wheel. So there's a lot of action all the time there. There's riders, you know, trying to up the pace, trying to get away out of this breakaway, and still Thomas de Gendt, he's holding on to that around the 20 seconds advantage. So he's doing a good job, and you know, if he can continue on at that pace, but it's a long one, still 12.6 kilometers to go. So you know, has he got enough in the tank to be able to do that all the way?
War of attrition. So Kaiser hasn't managed to make the bridge himself, but Dignan is approaching behind, as is Arredondo. Stage victory here in that first category climb will all but finish off the King of the Mountains competition as well. But of course, not just the jersey, he wants a win as well. Came to this Giro, everybody talking him up. First year at World Tour level, remember. First 3-week race for him. He's not seen how good he's been into the third and final week of a race. Remember, that's a voyage of discovery in itself, isn't it, Sean?
Yes, it is, and it's a big voyage, because you just never know what way you're going to, you know, the body's going to react, and it's an experience that you just have to, you know, just take each day when you get into that third week of racing and see how the body recovers.
Tom de Gendt leading. Martin Kaiser on the chase. It's a Belgian and a Dutchman, first and second on the road at the minute. Dignan, an Irishman, in the black and light blue of Sky. Remember, it's been an Irish Giro with a start. We haven't had an Irish winner yet. It's about time, many in the Emerald Isle would say. 9.8%. The gradient ramping up for the leaders. The Maglia Rosa group, this pink jersey group with Nairo Quintana there in about 8th wheel, is at 8.4% now and hitting the harder slopes as well. Past the graffiti on the road for Davide Malacarne, who's tried a couple of times. Won't be his day today. This will be fought either up front or by the GC men. The gap down the 4:59. Some strong riders still up the front. Pierre Rolland waits. Movistar and Quintana monitoring him. Hejsdal is there. Wilco Kelderman climbing. Valpool's there as well, very, very close to Rigoberto Urán. Nathan Haas on the wheel of rider Hejsdal, as is Cardoso, pardon me. Portuguese climber we've seen in the break to Monte Campione, I think it was. It's a big test for Hejsdal here. What was the other day, just one performance. An advantage of being out there in the front, holding on and fighting as admirably as he did, or has he really come into some form? Kaiser's going to be reached by the rest of the group. I say the rest of the group, those who have the legs. Sky's still strong here. Cataldo right on the wheel. 16 seconds now, that lead coming down foot again as he hits the harder slopes. Ivan Rovny riding well, third wheel for Tinkoff Saxo. Pelizzotti, the only man there. It looks as though Emanuele Sella really has not had the form this Giro d'Italia. Every time we've seen him climb, he's disappointed us.
Yes, very disappointing. And we can see here, you know, there's a lot of tactics going on. Who's going to do the chase? And we could see Sky there with Philip Dryden, you know, putting in a big effort to close down on Martin Kaiser from Belkin, and now all back together again. But Thomas De Gent is having a little bit more difficulty here. We can see the advantages come down a bit, but if they have a moment where they just start tactically looking at each other, he will pull the advantage out once again.
Nicholas Roach coming close to the front, just behind the man we're all monitoring in the pink, Nairo Quintana. Is it the day will be King Tana in the end? That is the question. More time for him and a time to wrap it up. In the meantime, Mr. Alonso waits in the VIP area. Champagne is on ice, as you can see, but he'll be spraying it around. Whoever wins, well, I get a little contract handed to them behind the podium.
If you haven't signed it already.
That's the question. There has been any signings, well, they wanted to keep them under wraps. Huge cycling fan anyway, despite all the politics of what's going on behind with the formation of the team. He's been the Giro before. I think the last time he was here was in Clan de Corones, mountain time trial a few years ago when Stefano Garzelli won. Now this is a good dig by Basso. Look at that real effort face on, teeth gritted, mouth wide open a moment ago. It's a case of those who can and those who can't. Pelizzotti being distanced at the minute. Sky still looking strong with two men in there, and crucially the two Colombians as well. Fabio Duarte in the black with the jersey open, Juliana Redondo in the blue, King of the Bandits jersey. And again, what a ride from Ivan Rovny.
Yes, he is following there, and he is, you know, close to the front, but not doing too much. And if you can get away with that, you know, just follow and leave the other riders chase down each other. And if you're feeling good, well, there's certainly time is on your side here, because there's a long way to go on this climb. And we could see Basso there. That's the way he does it. He just, you know, climbs real strong at a very strong pace for a long period and try just to burn everybody out, but he's having a little bit of difficulty. He's pulling faces very quickly.
And we haven't got to the hardest section yet. Not even Tom De Gent is on the hardest section. That comes very, very soon. First 14% section, just a little further up the road. Basso with the sunglasses on the top of the helmet, as is typical from him. Duarte looking around, everybody looking around. They have time to play with still, though, don't they? 5 minutes and one, still fairly good now.
Yes, we can see Basso again putting in a big effort here, and he is, you know, getting a little bit of an advantage here at the moment, pulling a distance, and it looks like that he is feeling good. And this is a climb as we forecasted. It's a, you know, a long climb, but the percentage, you know, all the time pretty regular, and that's what he likes. You know, a bigger gear where he can power away. And we could see just there earlier on, he was pushing on, trying to break everybody, and he's eventually got an advantage now as he got it to, you know, forge into the advantage of Thomas De Gent.
Ivan Basso on the 10% gradient. Look at that. Pushing on into the pain barrier, breaking through it. Tom De Gent leads. Basso, by the way, hasn't won since October 2012 Japan Cup end of season event. That's a big win. Came at the Giro di Padania 2011. No Grand Tour stage win since Monte Zoncolan in 2010. So Basso is out here, trying to make the bridge up to De Gent. A lot of focus on Cadel Evans today. It's about trying to hold that podium place for him today. Just behind is Fabio Aru. He's in the slightly open light blue jersey. Nicholas Roach is there too, as is the Croatian national champions jersey to the left, just out of your shot and coming back into it, in fact, now. Robert Kieślowski. White jersey of Rafał Majka behind that. Here's Ricardo Zeudel, Austrian champion. But Paul's still there for Rigoberto Urán. The cameras haven't really showed us too much of Rigoberto Urán so far. There he is waiting just in front of Nairo Quintana, who's to the right of him in the pink. This group shedding riders so quickly, Sean. It's for the state of the play at the minute, more than 10 games to go for those guys, and stage victory most probably being played out in front of it. It's a very small group.
Yes, and it just tells that you know, fatigue and the way they come onto the climb at such a fast rate because of the reasons the peloton has really blown, and just what small group, 30 riders here in the group of pink jersey, and they're really pushing on up front as well, at the front of the peloton.
Sky to have the latest go. Dario Cataldo. Basso pushed on, managed to shed a couple of riders. It's Cataldo's turn to go out in front. They're getting closer, inching closer, in fact, to Tom de Gendt. 10 kilometres to go. And, of course, the team with the tactical flexibility in there. Sky with 2 riders in the group. Why not shove one out in front to see what happens? 5.8% at the minute for Tom de Gendt. Just behind him, a few hundred metres, is Dario Cataldo. 2 riders making it across. One of them looked to be Julian Arredondo, who stayed strong and been able to respond to all attacks so far.
Yes, and he's been following, and we could see there he hasn't, made the effort like Basso has had to do. He really pushed it on there. Arredondo just following, and Durati as well. He was just there, always staying the wheel. And if you can do that, if you can get away with that, well, it's the tactic to work for the moment, because we still have, plenty of time to do a big attack and to do the damage. If you've got the, if you feel you've got the legs and you have the better of the other riders, well, then you can just hold on. As we can see, is Duignan here, who is also coming across.
Duignan, it looks as though for the moment Basso and Duarte have been dropped. That's the second group on the road. They look round. What damage have they done? Cataldo wondering if Arredondo's going to come through and do any work himself. 21 seconds at the minute. And again, despite looking pained, despite looking very, very laboured, he's holding on to a decent gap. He's approaching now, though, the first 14% section. Europe car alongside Movistar at the front of this. In fact, it looks as though Movistar have taken control themselves. The group that was fairly small, it's just swelled slightly again. Riders dropping back all the time. There's Maxime Montfort there. Mark Hoos. And this is our leader, 14%. First big section. Looks down. Quick word with himself, tries to get into that rhythm. 4 minutes and 53. Gotta hang on. We've said it before on Manda's stage. It's not just the fight with the tiredness and fatigue and physical nature of things. It's also the mental fight you've got to play.
Yes, and we can see de Gendt is, just giving it close to his 100% here, and he's got to do that, and the advantage is coming down. We could see there that the 3 riders we have chasing here, I think, they can see de Gendt in their sights, so that that advantage of 20 seconds, it's come down a lot. And I think with the advantage back to the main peloton and pink jersey, 450 at the moment, they're probably getting a little bit concerned as well, and that's the reason they have been attacking each other a bit further out in this breakaway, and they've got to do it, because 450, it's not a guarantee that they're going to hold on. If somebody in the main peloton goes in the attack, like a Pozzovivo, for example, well, that advantage will come down much quicker, and that's what they're concerned about out front.
2 Sky riders, Duignan and Cataldo, alongside Julian Arredondo, the king of the mountains at the minute. And that's the look down to them from this man. He looks behind. All the energy's got to be in front of you, Thomas. No stranger to heroic rides on the Giro d'Italia. Arredondo's turn to look back. 3-man section on the slightly harder 9.2% gradient. 453 back to Nairo Quintana and the rest. Zodel's still there. This is Heystal. Who's looking back, looking to try and find Urán. Good ride from Movistar as a team again. We've seen Malori, Castroviejo, Capecchi there as well. Stunning. No time to appreciate the view though, if you're out there on the road. $10Ks. That's for those behind. So they're 1.5 kilometers behind those in front. Number 7, Mikel Landa, as we get to see the Lago di Caldonazzo down in Levico. Yes, no. In the end, he'll just cut on. Carry on. Good support for Fabio Aru. Will Aru be flying, as that suggests? The whole of Sardinia united behind him. 19 seconds for the Ghent. Not much is changing here with these gaps, Sean.
Well, it is coming down a bit, but again, he's holding on quite well. As you can see here, I think it's maybe less than this 19 seconds, although hard to make the calculation because on the gradient there at the moment, like it's just under 10%, and it's the Sky riders who are committing here. Duignan is the one who's pushing on, but Arredondo is going to be a difficult one to manage here for Sky, but they haven't got the opportunity here to start playing about, because with this advantage coming down, I think they're concerned about that. So first of all, they have to try and pull on and keep the advantage as much as possible, and then see later on the climb what they can do. But Arredondo looks very comfortable. He's been matching all the attacks and just following the slipstream of Sky, who are setting the pace.
So we had 19 seconds. Now Duarte's back. That as the Maglia Rosa group moves on to the hardest section of the climb. Chasing group becomes 4 again. Duarte, Duignan, Cataldo, Arredondo up front. Around 19 seconds ahead at the last official count. We had Tom de Gendt, but we can see him up the road. It suggests that there are slightly less than those 19 seconds of a gap. Quintana right on the wheel of Roland. Kelderman is there. Fairly isolated. There's Nicholas Roach and Mick Rogers. Zalowski, Heijstal, Uran. All the big players still in this group. Gorka Zaguirre's turn to do some work on the front. In fact, he was telling the local Basque radio that Quintana was fairly close to climbing off the other day before he got up the Stelvio. Struggled to eat, couldn't eat. Zaguirre had to shove some food into his mouth. Quintana's hands were that cold. He stayed on, and look what happened since. A whole different story. But this is the story of the race. Micah just making up the wheels there, making sure he doesn't slide back too much in that group. Agir Desert still have decent numbers. Same climbers we've seen accompanying Domenico Pozzovivo as we have all week. Vouillamot and Hubert Dupont. This, though, is the man who launched a very brave attack right at the base of the climb. Out there in pursuit at the minute, Philippe Duignan doing all the work with Duarte on his wheel. Cataldo just out of his shot as well. And Arredondo hanging on. Again, looks round, keeps going. Keeps telling himself something positive, I'm sure. 9.4% for the leaders. Again, Sean, so difficult with these gradients to tell the time gaps, isn't it?
Yes, it's just changing all the time, as we can see. Our race leader Quintana here having to just a talk back with the team director Sportif, and it's a difficult one. De Gendt is holding off very well, because we can see there the two Team Sky men are really pushing on, and the advantage is still, holding on quite well. And I think De Gendt is saying to himself, yeah, I'll break these guys, I'll hold on here, and if I can just keep this advantage, and then they will start losing a bit of time again, and if I can do that, I'll gain further time here, but 4:35 advantage, 7.2 kilometres. Hopefully for the breakaway, because they deserve to stay out there, some of them today, going out there for a long day again, that we don't see the main peloton catching up and somebody sprinting out in the final kilometre.
We shall see. 4:35 at the moment. 8.8% the gradient that they're on. 7.2 kilometres remain. Gradient is fairly steady towards the finish right now. Slight increase in percentage, slight decrease in places, but it hovers around 8.5%. Another rider making his way back, looks to be Pelizzotti. Ivan Basso in the meantime seems to have disappeared off the map. He's in between the cars, that's where he is, hiding away.
He's just waiting.
Anton. I haven't seen too much of Igor Anton really in this Giro so far, but he is a deluxe man. He was hoping to get his own opportunity to do something in the mountains. Remember, he was the winner last time we were at Monte Zoncolan, leader of the Euskaltel Euskadi team then. This is the leader, Androni. Not going to do anything in the general classification, but he is desperate for a stage win. Franco Pelizzotti almost made his way up to this group, which is growing and swelling. We had 3 men, then 4 as Duarte got back. And this is Pelizzotti making his own way back to this second group. It's fast becoming an important group.
Yes, and if you can do that, you know, you can in the earlier part of the climb just climb at your own pace, but not lose too much, and get back into this group again, which Pelizzotti is doing. You know, depend on how we are feeling at this time. Pelizzotti, you know, a real good climber, and if he's in good shape, he could be the one who could cause problems here. And you know, as we can see here, Thomas again just holding on out there. It looks to be coming down the advantage, but he's holding on to that slender lead here, and it's going to start growing, I think, more. Will Basso make it back in here? He looked to be struggling there a bit off that group of the Skymen.
We'll get a bit of shelter from the cars and the motorbikes that were behind. Quintana, Roland, and Roman Sikar as well. This is Basso. We finally found him again. He looks so aggressive earlier on in the climb. Motorbikes have been moved out of the way, but as you can expect, this is a big one to follow for our Italian host broadcasters. Motorbike commentators will be following him, relaying his progress back up to those in the national commentary box. We see him on the camera. 7.4% for the leaders. 6.4 Ks to go. 4:23 the gap. Oh, tired look behind that time from the Ghent, and they're gaining on him. Out onto the pedals, tries to squeeze something else out. Now Sky going to get Philip Dijkner across. Dario Catello is going to be the last man to come across, and at the minute it's all done for Tom de Gendt. Drives it up, desperately trying to keep it on. Won't want to look behind now. Now here's Arredondo. What does he do? Goes straight past, and Arredondo's attack is right here. 6.2 Ks to go. King of the mountains at the minute. He wants a stage though, and he has wanted one ever since he set foot on Italian foil on stage 4. Duarte's going to follow him. Colombian partnership right up the front. It has been a year of firsts for Colombia at the Giro. First Maglia Rosa, first Giro for our current leader. And could we have a first stage victory on the Giro for these guys? No wonder they are happy about things. So there's been no communication problem here, Sean. And they have it in their natural interest to go on and work together.
But will they do it?
That is the question.
It doesn't look like for the moment. We can see there's when Arredondo just was out in front, Duarte comes across and he attacks him immediately. You know, it's still with 5.9 kilometers to go as Dijkner makes contact with the two Colombians though. And they have to, you know, try and keep on sharing the pace, I think, here for a while, because with 6 kilometers to go, it's a long way on this climb and a lot of steep sections still to come.
A lot of steep sections still to come, sections that go all the way up to 9.2% still. We've had the maximum 14%. but it does still go uphill pretty sharply. Quintana, all dressed in pink, we can't miss him. Well, better positions for Omega Pharma Quick-Step for Rigoberto Urán, has 3 teammates with him this time. His other teammate, De Gent, has been dropped, as we've seen. Pelizzotti on his wheel now. 2 men coming up behind. Arredondo in the blue, Deignan in the black and blue, and in the black, yellow and red of Colombia, it is Fabio Duarte. A recovery of sorts for De Gent and Pelizzotti. 5.6 kilometres to go. Responded finally to the attack of Arredondo, who took Duarte and eventually Deignan with him. 4 minutes 11 is what they have on the pink jersey. The minute, nobody lighting it up in and amongst the favourites for the Giro. Little conversation. Shake of the head. I'm not playing games with you. Here we go. Time to go. Romain Sicard, former rider of Euskaltel-Euskadi, the French Basque rider, the launch pad for Roland. And immediately Movistar, let's see if they react to this. Igor Anton is the man who's trying to do so. Remember, Sicard and Anton, former teammates at Euskaltel-Euskadi. Both Basques from different sides of the national border, political border we should say. Of course, Euskal Herria is considered by Basque nationalists to be a region encompassing both the Spanish and the French sections of the Basque country. Oh, and here goes Roland. Quintana has to respond. We wondered when they'd start. It has started. The first dig, as we predicted, by the Europe car rider. He said this morning he'd have a go. He said he'd wait to the final climb, and behind, suddenly the teammates are shed, and suddenly it's all about the favourite Sean.
Yes, and we could see there that Sicard was putting in an effort, and then Roland just left him take that 5-7 metres of an advantage, and left Anton just do the pacing, and then just goes across to him, but immediately we see Quintana in the wheel of Pierre Roland, and he's not going to allow Pierre Roland too much time here. I think he feels that he is becoming a danger man, and looking a good sign when you see a guy, Quintana, the race leader, reacting immediately when anybody a little bit close in general classification, he closes them down. It proves that Quintana is not in trouble, but we haven't seen him in trouble in this race yet.
Tom De Gent has given it another go. Pelizzotti going with him, and this is big. This is very big up the front. Just as the favourites start attacking each other, so does the breakaway again. And these guys, they seem cooked a minute ago.
Yes, I think everybody is starting to suffer here after being in the breakaway for a long time today. They're all really on the limits here, and you could see that the way they were fighting up front, and that is going to be the case. And De Gent, of course, he is one just that can keep on fighting, keep on pushing at it, and it's going to be interesting who can hold out in front. 3:49 at the moment with 4.9 kilometres to go. It shouldn't be a problem for the breakaway to hold out there now.
BMC fading towards the end of this Giro. No teammates for Evans, no Samuel Sanchez, no Steve Morabito. They've all been involved in crashes. It's Pelizzotti who's out in front, and this is very, very popular amongst the home fans. Franco Pelizzotti riding on home roads and riding into the masses of support on the side of the roads up here in Rifugio Panarotta. Hagedal, so strong the other day. Al Martello was almost his. Quintana put the lesson in at the end. The award for the guts and the fight on the day went to the Canadian. Pelizzotti will know these roads better than anybody out here. He's known when to attack. 4.5 kilometres on these gradients, still a fair distance out.
You can see Evans here in difficulty on with the group of big favourites. He's starting to lose ground here, and the AG2R men are starting just to get around him here, and he's fighting, and 3-4 white lengths off the tail end of that group. You can see Micah there also hanging on the end of that group of big favourites. So some of the general classification men, still a long ways out, seem to be in difficulty at this early point.
Deignan hanging on. It's his guts today. It's his gutsy ride. This is wonderful stuff from Philippe Daignan. Showing fantastic character. Now Roland on his own. This time Romain Sicard is burned out, is finished, and Quintana really does have to follow. Rigoberto Urán is on Quintana's wheel. Fourth wheel in the light green jersey is Kelderman. Then you have Heijsdal. But Pouls is still up here. Aru. And still teammates for Age d'Isère. The big bit of news has been the sliding. Certainly a bit predictable. We knew that Evans was looking weaker and weaker in the mountains, still fighting away. Now, Arredondo makes the junction. Pelizzotti is caught. Can he hold on and find some sense of recovery? Daignan dropped as well by Duarte. Lead changing hands all the time at the top here.
What a fight out in front here. They're just changing all the time. You know, one moment we have Thomas de Gendt, then we had Pelizzotti, of course, looked like he was going to hold on and, you know, settle into a strong pace here, but Arredondo just upped the pace here with Duarte, and it's all changing all the time here, and will we see it again? But Arredondo, he is the one who is playing safe, and we can see back in the main peloton, Heijsdal is the one who is getting a bit nervous here and starting to pull on, and of course he can see Evans is in difficulty, so he knows that he can maybe move up place. Pozzovivo, I haven't seen him here, but he's such a tiny guy, difficult to see, but I reckon he has to be here.
Yeah, few Age d'Isère jerseys hanging about and waiting about the back. There is Pozzovivo, just in front of Rafael Majka. In fact, Pozzovivo now isolated. His Age d'Isère teammates gone as well. Aru is there, Kieselowski, Majka. We've seen Roland, Quintana, Rigoberto Urán, Wilco Kelderman. And this is Julián Arredondo. It's that 9.2% section we were talking about. 3.5 Ks to go. The gap is at 3 minutes and 15 seconds. And that upping of pace behind has brought them a little closer. Plenty to play with, though, for the Colombian. He's always wanted this. He's attacked previously on this very climb. And he's having another go now. Basque flag flies. Movistar still with a man in there. Pozzovivo right at the back. The Maglia Rosa sits right in the middle of this group. 6.4% for them. This is the area where Pelizzotti attacked a little earlier on. Pelizzotti, in the meantime, sliding back behind Philippe Daignan. It's all about finding those little spots where you can recover if you've had a little mini crisis, and if you can recover, find the legs again. Things can change so much in your attitude towards yourself and your body and your mentality on one single climb, Sean.
Yes, well, it's all about you know, conserving the energy in the earlier part, and I think Pelizzotti was doing it quite well. We did not see him the first number of kilometres, but then appeared and put in the attack, but you know, still hasn't got the legs. Arredondo's the one as well who, you know, he was following a lot in the earlier part as well, and if you can get up the first number of kilometres and still have a, you know, quite a bit left in the tank, well, then that is, you know, great for the morale. You can feel that, and you know, then you can do a lot in the final part of the climb.
Now, what a ride at the front of this group from none other than Jonathan Castroviejo. By no means the strongest climber in this Movistar group. He's been climbing well in the Giro, but he's no Igor Anton, he's certainly no Capecchi, or even Gorka Izagirre, but he's up there, he's setting the tempo, and he is doing a superb ride to prevent those attacks, and that would put Nairo Quintana perhaps in a bit of danger. Daignan, in the meantime, time being counted back to him. Leader of the race is Arredondo for the moment. 3 Ks to go for Philippe Daignan. 20 seconds behind Arredondo, who's put it a dig that really has left the ref behind. There's that ride again from Castroviejo. Julián Arredondo leads stage 18 of this Giro d'Italia. He's led a stage at this point before. First time he went up into the mountains. Now behind, it's Pierre Roland who keeps pushing on. So Castroviejo's turn finished. Roland waited for that to happen. Castroviejo cooked, and the Frenchman put in the dig. Who can follow and who can't? there's going to be some real time differences here behind Sean.
Yes, and if Peloton can keep going at this pace, we can see immediately he's caused a lot of problems between the group of big favourites, and gaps starting to appear. Aru is starting to move up there also. Is he going to put in an attack? And if they start doing that, attacking each other here, I know he's in the group behind, trying to move up to make contact with this group of Peloton and pink jersey.
Emanuele Sella was caught there. Here is Arredondo. The pink jersey from years gone by. Certainly this man on our screens won't be going into pink today or at any point during this race. 2 hours, 4 minutes behind, but he will be securing the King of the Mountains jersey. Oh, Roland's gone again, this time on his own. Anybody going to follow? That's the question. Quintana bluffing at the minute, and Roland thinks, well, why not? Pushing on, going on. Is he about to ride himself onto the podium? At the minute, Sean, on the road as it stands, he is on the podium because Evans has been distanced.
Yes, and we can see that he had a look over his left shoulder there, put in the first bit of an attack. Then he had the advantage and really starts to dig in here, and now it's all about really giving it your all here and try and pull out second by second. And we can see that surprisingly that Quintana was really on the front there but didn't react. Is he just bluffing a bit and see will the other riders chase? Not be surprised if we see Quintana trying to come across a little bit further up when it gets to a steeper gradient. That's what has made the race for him, and what a cool guy. He just kept it cool all the way on the climb and put in the effort at the right moment.
Arredondo wins by 17 seconds ahead of Fabio Duarte. Dignam with a superb third place for Sky, who again fought things. It was the Irish Giro at the start, and they're certainly competitive towards the end. Pelizzotti, Zardini, De Gent, Basso, Cataldo, Aru and Quintana, the top 10 on the day. Aru in the end taking just 3 seconds back from Nairo Quintana. The difference to the rest will be extremely important as well. So stage 18 finishes like that. Tomorrow it's another mountain day. It's time trial day to Monte Grappa. This is the general classification going into the final time trial, the mountain time trial. Quintana leading by 1 minute and 41. Rigoberto in second, Pierre Roland third, but Quintana still in control of the Giro d'Italia.